Monday instead directed the suit to Chief Justice Martha Koome to form a 3-judge bench to hear it. In the petition, Busia Senator Okoh Mtata and lawyer Otiende Amolo are challenging the legality of the suspended Finance Act. They argued that the state will suffer no harm if the orders are extended.
There are mechanisms for continuation of the Finance Act 2022, and that is what is continuing. That is why, as we speak, income tax is being paid. As we speak, people are paying import duty. As we speak, everything else is going on except the new taxes and levies.
I fully echo the submissions of Senior Counsel Otiende Amolo, and I will just reinforce them by saying that the claims that sections of the Finance Bill 2022 were repealed or amended by the Finance Act 2023 are not true, because the Finance Act 2023 has not come into effect. That will only happen in the event to suspend your orders, my lady.
12 more bodies have been exhumed from Shakahola forest, raising the death toll to 350. The exercise entered the 4th phase, with Interior CS Kithure Kindiki saying that they'd unearthed 40 mass graves.
Na leo hii katika ile awamu imeanza leo, tuko na makaburi 40 ambayo hajafunguliwa, na kila kaburi mengine tunashuku iko na zaidi ya maiti moja katika ile kaburi. Kwa hivyo hii ni changamoto kubwa.
The CS further condemned religious leaders who are radicalizing Kenyans, saying the government was coming for them.
Kuna watu ambao wako na mafikira ya dini potovu. Kuna uhuru wa kuabudu, ndio. Kuna uhuru wa madhehebu yote, ndio. Lakini hakuna uhuru wa kutumia dini ama dhehebu yoyote kuua wananchi.
6 people were killed and others injured, including security officers, during the Saba Saba protest on Friday. Interior CS Kithure Kindiki says despite there being freedom of association and the right to demonstrate, it doesn't include the right to cause mayhem and loot property. Kindiki further said that he'd given security officers instructions to deal with those disrupting peace, destroying property and injuring people come Wednesday.
Ni sawa upinzani, semeni labda mko na uhuru ya kusema, harakisheni, mnachelewa, hiyo ni sawa. Lakini kuchukua mawe uende ufunge barabara ambayo inasafirisha abiria, mtu anapeleka vitu yake sokoni, unafunga barabara, unawasha moto, unaenda pale unaibia duka ya mtu ambaye hana hatia, anatafutia watoto wake riziki, unatoka hapo unasema tuendeni mjini katikati, unavuruga amani, unachoma magari ya watu ambao wamenunua magari kupitia loan. Hatutakubali.
This is opposition leader Raila Odinga maintained that the protests set for this week are still on.
Huyu jamaa anajulikana pale yeye natoka. Kila mara yeye ananiwinda kama mnyama. Naambia yeye Mungu iko na sitarudi nyuma. Sasa tumesema siku ya Jumatano. Uko tayari? Tumesema sisi si majambazi. Sisi bilibili si watu ambao wanataka ugomvi kwa sababu ya ugomvi. Tunafanya kila kitu, tunafanya na sababu. Tumesema Wakenya wana sababu. Pili, Wakenya wana nia. Tatu, Wakenya wana uwezo.
Parties to the Sudan conflict have been asked to declare an unconditional ceasefire. Speaking at Addis Ababa during the IGAD Quartet Head of State and Government meeting, President William Ruto said Sudan Armed Forces and the Rapid Support Forces must also agree to establish a humanitarian zone.
The atrocities in Darfur are alarming. The targeted interracial attacks are particularly concerning as they steadily spiral into a humanitarian catastrophe. Our meeting must address this unfolding situation. Given the negative effects of the crisis on the ground throughout the Horn, the Red Sea and the Sahel, humanitarian assistance should also be extended to the neighboring nations with a particular focus on the vulnerable groups, including women, children, and people living with disability. The situation, ladies and gentlemen, in Sudan is grave. As the conflict continues unabated, we are witness to its devastating impact on the people, on Sudan, and on the region.
He said the move will stop the loss of lives, ease access to public services, and facilitate a settlement of the conflict. This is News. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
Revenge is for children. It's for kids. When you grow up, you realize the best revenge you can take on somebody is to ignore them.
I'm just new in politics. It is not everybody's cup of tea. That's why some people come in one term and that's it for them.
Political parties in this country do not have ideologies, whether luring or otherwise.
And that is the effect of corruption.
Any time an offense occurs anywhere in the country, it is the job of the Inspector General to look into it. Whether it's corruption, whether it's murder, whether it's petty, that is his job.
If we have chosen to be a corrupt nation, then we produce corrupt leaders. Everything then becomes chaotic that you cannot be able to change a nation.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people, and we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing police of conmanship, and even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. And hii mambo utaona dunia tu.
The Situation
Day 2 of the weekend is going TikTok. We're looking at a little bit of traffic starting to build up in certain parts of the city today. On the Thika Superhighway, you're going to be all right if you're getting into the city right about now. Not too much in terms of movement as you get towards the CBD. We'll see some movement on Jogo Road, which has already started early. It's getting out towards Landis. But again, nothing at crazy level just yet. Hopefully we can keep it just so. A little bit of traffic on Juja Road. It's going to come out towards Moranga Road. And we see some coming out of Westlands as you get towards the expressway. At that junction, it's going to be a bit of a hold up, but you will be all right. The Southern Bypass has a little bit of something going on just at the entrance coming in for the Lakoni interchange. But again, we'll be fine. We've just started off. Hopefully we can continue and finish Tuesday on a good note. Talk to us about what's going on where you are as you get into it. Spice FMK on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Welcome to The Situation Room. Welcome to Tuesday. It's the 11th day of July 2023. Ndu?
Yeah.
Otherwise?
Salama.
Mambo iko firi.
Mambo iko fresh, my brother.
Mambo iko bam bam.
That's right. How are you today?
I'm very well.
Very well.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Bona Muga.
Yes, please.
Otherwise?
Uko fit, by the way.
Uko fit, eh?
How do you say glasses in Kiswahili?
By the way.
Miwani.
Siti anasafisha hizo miwani zingine.
Did you notice what he did with the glasses yesterday? So you remember he changed from these ones to the reading glasses.
At around this time, yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And then through the show, he'd keep removing the glasses and
he wanted you to see.
And then just put them on a bit. You know,
what you know, I'm being
look at his phone or his notes and then move them.
Let me just tell you guys the truth.
Big intellectual and philosophical.
My eyes haven't quite gotten accustomed to this thing.
Oh, it's still new, Abi?
It's not new. It's a very old, but my eyes aren't used to it. So sometimes you wear it, you're seeing other things. So you remove it.
You're removing
to see clearly. Yes.
So why are you wearing them?
Because so that my eyes
you
can get
remove
used
the glasses
to it.
so that you can see clearly.
But
How
they're
about
old.
a phenomenon like that?
No. But this one is for reading hapa kwa hapa. I'm long-sighted. I want to take this one so that we can change the frame.
Okay.
So this is me
trying to adjust.
Domesticating my eyes to get used to this one here. Yes, that is what I'm doing. Yes. So it is an interesting process.
So when you were removing the glasses yesterday, what was happening?
I couldn't see properly.
So I can't see properly. Let me take off the glasses. Yeah.
I'm long-sighted. I can see you both very clearly. Now, if someone like Mheshimiwa Martha is here, she was sitting here.
She was?
Yes. Now, if I have the glasses on, she looks blurry.
She's doing like this?
Yes, she looks blurry. So you remove the glasses so that you can see her properly. Like now, when I put them on, I can see it is new, but it's not clear. You are a lot clearer without the
glasses.
That's very interesting.
This is for reading, purely.
It's purely for reading.
Yes,
so
there's another set for driving.
Yeah.
Now, that one allows me to see far.
Farther than far.
Yeah, but now reading now, you'll be reading.
So you basically can't see the fuel gauge.
Fuel gauge you can't see.
Or your speedometer.
So the best thing...
You have no idea what speed you're driving at.
So kitu muhimu, unaenda, unasikia, unajaza tank, so you don't have to keep looking at it.
Na speedometer na?
Speedometer, si utasimamisha uki overspeed.
Sema fande sioni, si ati
I mean, why do you stress yourself about things which kuna watu wamepewa hiyo kazi to make sure there are people who don't
to stop you from speeding.
Overspeed.
Why should you
Yes,
bother?
you drive. When you overspeed, they'll stop you and tell you, excuse me. You overdrive. Not overdriving, overspeeding.
Overdriving.
You're overdriving.
Okay. Eric Latiff.
Yes.
How are you this morning?
Nilikuambia mimi. Niko fine, thank you.
Oh, umesema tena. Tulikuwa tuna
confirm. Just checking again. Yeah. Operate kama CID.
Mimi?
Yeah. I've never been in that kind of situation. That's when cops call you and they're interrogating you. So this one guy will come, ask you questions, be very friendly, listen to your story. So you'll tell your story and you'll be thinking, okay, now
they're gonna let
actually
you
have listened. So he tells you tell the story. It's like, Saibu ngoja kidogo hapa, tunione vile nitakusaidia. And now a person comes. So wewe, you start the whole story again from scratch. Kumbe wanakupima akili.
Na ulikuwa nafikiria nini?
They are just waiting for you to change some details in that story.
So they're looking for inconsistency.
Yes.
So they're going to treat you differently.
That's a trick.
They ask the same questions.
Yeah, they treat you differently, but they ask you the same
tone,
question.
Different demeanor.
Yeah.
Same questions.
Oh, voila. Quite intelligent fellas, aren't they?
Well, it is. I think that's what they're taught when you go to
Kiganjo for 9 months.
No, that's not Kiganjo. That's CID school.
Yeah, CID school. I know.
Wanafundisha hivyo. Then now you know the first guy.
Slip up.
The first guy you told a story and you felt, he was very friendly.
This guy's getting me.
Man, he's with you.
Yeah. Second guy comes and he's a bit tough like this. So at some point he keeps asking you the same question.
And you can't react the way you normally react. I've told you that thing 3 times already.
Okay.
Are you not listening?
What's wrong with you?
A police, ile mahali pa police office, otherwise known as a station.
Police station.
Yes.
How do you come up with these things?
But it's where they work. It's the office.
It's the office. It's true.
Police office.
That place is intimidating. It's very intimidating.
The people in it.
No, just
the entire environment.
The rooms are small.
The smell, the walls.
Everything. There's always a rickety chair somewhere. That's the one they're going to give you. There's a plastic chair. The legs of the chair disappeared. So they've taken the bucket aspect of that particular plastic chair and put it on some wood. So when you're sitting on it, you actually balance it. So you actually can't move much.
It's probably intentional, no? to see your
If you look
demeanor.
at the table and everything around there, you realize, no, it's not at his stark or bare. The office is poverty-stricken. There's hardly anything you can look at in that place you even wonder, how do these people work here?
Yeah.
Kumbe. And that small room, there are around 4 people in it. So when you enter, you're the 5th one.
Let's all get into a matchbox, shall we?
And the other people are busy. The one who's talking to you is talking to you. The other,
They're doing the other thing.
They don't even look at you.
Haya. Hamjambo kila mtu. Let me tell you what we'll be discussing this Tuesday. We'll have a conversation about the fight against corruption, African Anti-Corruption Day 2023, and we will be joined by a magistrate in the Anti-Corruption Court, the Honorable Zipporah Gishana, alongside the Deputy Director for Asset Recovery at the EACC, Philip Kagushia. They join us at 7 a.m. for that conversation. And then at 8, let's talk about food security in Kenya. We've been talking about this food security. Yesterday, we had that long conversation with Dismas Mukua here. The formulas for food security in the country working. Dr. Dominic Menjo is Food Security Advisor in the Office of the President. These are the people who come up with the plans. They share them with the bosses, the higher-ups. The higher-ups, the politicians, communicate to us. Now, let's hear from the expert, whether what he's saying is what the politicians have been telling us, right? And how that works. We're live streaming the show. Ednah, Sindio? Yes, we are. YouTube and Facebook. If you're online, let us know where you're tuned in from. It's been a while since we heard from people from down under. Australia, Papua New Guinea, and all those other Polynesian countries. Can we hear from you? If you're online, let us know. Spice FM on Facebook and YouTube. 17 minutes after 6.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Cloudy conditions this Tuesday morning in Nairobi at 12, highs of 25 today. We'll see highs of 26 in a partly cloudy Nakuru at 13, and it's cloudy at 11 in Nyeri, highs of 24. Clear conditions in Eldoret, going to highs of 23 and lows of 11. At 23, it's partly cloudy in Mombasa, highs of 29, and we'll see highs of 29 in a partly cloudy Malindi. It's 20 and clear in Kisumu, highs of 30 today, and we'll see highs of 28 in a partly cloudy Kakamega at 16. It's partly cloudy in Kampala at 18, highs of 28 and lows of 17, and Dar es Salaam is mostly clear at 22. We'll see highs of 31. It's 1 degree in a snowy Johannesburg, highs of 13 and lows of 0. It's clear at 23 in Lagos, highs of 31 and lows of 24, and mostly clear in Kinshasa at 22, highs of 32 and lows of 21. Tuesday afternoon is sunny at 30 in Beijing, highs of 35 and lows of 25, while in Paris it's cloudy at 18, highs of 32 today, and 23 will be the high in a cloudy London currently at 20. It's 23 and clear in New York Monday night. Coming into Tuesday, we'll see highs of 29 and lows of 18.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
So it's Faristo Muganda, and he says he's tuned in. Pakamwisho. Good morning, bro. No, I don't know who bro is, but you know, bro. Huh. Good morning. That's from John. This morning. Okay. Andrew Franklin, listening from home in Chile, Lavington. Good morning to you, Karibu Sana.
It's been a while, Andrew.
It's been a minute. Good morning, Spice FM. Another day, we're above ground. Indeed, gratitude is a must. I'm alive and kicking thanks to God. Wow, okay. Tune into my favorite all-time morning show. That's Brian. Good to have you in this morning. Okay, here we go. Good morning, Dream Team. Happy Tuesday. Tuned in from Dubai. Okay, I'm sorry. Tuned in en route to Dubai from Abu Dhabi.
Alrighty.
All right. Good morning to you. Alex says good morning. Hi. Today, I'll be busy issuing birth certificates to my cows. Touche.
It's important.
It is. Good on you. Dennis Karaoke says good morning. He's tuned in from Roy Sambu. Dennis says, Guten Morgen, people. 1960 logged in. Allah. So it's Godfrey who's tuned in from Roysambu, and Dennis is logged in as well.
Okay.
Sophia Damari says, good morning, tuned in from Abu Dhabi. Brian Otieno says he's tuned in from Sharjah in the UAE. Mapema ndio best, ndio. Good morning, good people watching from Kubu. Kindly ask CT if our neighbor country Somalia has proverbs. They do. We've had them before here.
We've had them here.
Njao Wajiko says good morning. Kabaya Wasanga, good morning. Dismas Ombuya. Hey, he's using some big words today. How about some linguistic gymnastics? Good morning to the most erudite Latiff, CT the Sage, and the epigrammatic Ndu. Hey. My friends. Linda Ogola, bonjour à tous, bonjour à toi, mon ami. Salamu mingi Batu Bakenya. Okay, yeah. Sounds like Lingala. Good morning, fam. Salams from Doha. Jacob says good morning from Sin City. Hope you're behaving yourself there. Toti says top of the morning team. Wodnam Sweater Kandanga. Locked in from Otonglo. That's a place.
Otonglo, yes.
Oh, okay. Richard Wise tuned in.
It is a place.
It is.
Otonglo is a place. Where is it?
It's not just 10 cents. 10 cents is Otonglo, but...
Was that not a song?
Otonglo time. What was his name? He died. Yeah.
Yes, it is a place.
So Otonglo is a place?
It is a place.
So why was the place called 10 cents? Or why was it 10 cents called Otonglo?
I am not certain which came before the other.
Yeah.
But Otonglo is a place.
It's a place, it's 10 cents, it's a song, it's... And there's somebody from there this morning. Richard Mwangi says good morning, and Jeffrey Monari is also tuned in from and says great way to start the day. I want to get through everybody today. Deron says good morning from Mombasa. Good morning, good people. CT, your shirts have been on point lately. CT, unaua watu na shati. Atilately.
Hey.
She just didn't know how to say it, that she has been looking at it for long. She just decided to put the lately so that, you won't feel somehow. CT, Okoh, and Latiff. CT is not blurry from my side, yawa. Tunamwona vizuri. Good morning from Qatar. CT, stop blushing. It's okay. Life is like that. Looking forward to today's conversation. This is Collins Owino. Good morning. Somebody else. CT, can you please introduce me to your shirt supplier? Come on. Gulu, Uganda is where Mohammed Kadhi is, and he says he's looking forward to the show today. Peter Mwara says, good morning from Kiambu, Kanunga. Eric, can you talk with my management to work on the background? It's very dark. Okay, Eric, the background of what?
Okoh, behind us.
Okay. Hey guys, everybody now is just streaming in. Boom, boom, boom from Gong, the Middle East. Fadil, Kofi, Kadrango Pere, tuning from Gong. From Berlin, Germany, Hiram Kabarita, Isaac Babji is tuned in as well. It was Poxy Pressure. Yes, Grace Cosmos is tuned in from Qatar. And a number of other people online today. From Sierra Leone, good morning. How far? How body? Everybody's okay? It's good.
Kabisa, Kilamutu Karibuni, and our friend Kaiser Obed says good morning. Tuned in, say hello to the team. I'm traveling. Naenda Ushago, Nyamira. Nitaletea nyinyi avocado. Nitaletea nyinyi avocado.
See, they do fisherman research.
Well, Kaiser, and Ednah, what do you call avocados in Kikisi? Ednah, Jewish, ngoja usikia kitu danganya. Ati avocado. Absolutely no way. If you people have Ovosontoto, how can you not have a name for avocado?
What is that?
Ovosontoto. Hey, where would you?
Sijui, tell me.
Where would you?
But what?
Ovosontoto.
What are those?
Ednah atakwambia. Sisi you know Ovosontoto.
I'm just getting over opposite.
I've not gotten over that yet.
Yeah? So, this Obosontoto, that's now...
Ednah tells me, does Ochuri ring a bell?
Yes, it does.
What is it?
Ochuri is a mixture of bile and all manner...
Futu and Dani,
essentially,
in other words.
It's a tenderizer.
What on earth?
Unachua futu and Dani.
You take bile, you take certain aspects of the intestine, things which help animals digest and it's a tenderizer. It's actually used for eating raw meat.
Bile.
Yes.
I've just said bile. Do you want me to repeat again?
So Ochuri is Obosontoto.
How? Oh God, I'm so confused.
Tuko pamoja.
Hakuna tuko pamoja.
Right.
Haya, the proverb.
Yes, we're still in the country of Sudan.
Right.
Okay. If telling the truth does not save you, lying will not.
If telling the truth does not save you, lying will not. Allah. Okay. Okay. Sawa, the Sudanese have said, who are we?
They have spoken.
Let's look at the headlines.
Let's look at the headlines. On the front page of the Standard this morning, we see that Raila's 15 million signature puzzle. It's not 10 million again. Well, all right. There's pictures there of Raila Odinga making a trip into the city on a matatu, bought newspapers, did the thing. Today, they will launch the collection of millions of signatures from Kenyans who express discontent with the government. However, opinion is split on what follows after the exercise is complete. All right, so that's the story we'll look into. There's an interesting story here of how an auctioneer is training his hammer on billionaire. David Lagat wines and dines with the high and mighty. His property portfolio is the envy of global investors, but to auctioneers, he's a lone defaulter, and that puts his multi-billion tea estate and Mombasa property under the hammer. A very worrying story here. 10 reasons your child is not safe at school. From mental health, drugs and substance abuse to disaster preparedness, a new report shows learners are sitting on a ticking time bomb. Relief after court puts the brakes on new taxes. We saw that yesterday. Justice Tande said, hold on, stop the press. The train is not leaving the station. Close the station, let's talk first.
Everybody go home.
Go home. Let's first. Everybody go home. Blocked is what it is on the front page of The Nation. Punctured. President Ruto suffered another blow yesterday after the High Court declined to lift orders suspending the implementation of the Finance Act 2023. Instead, he asked the Chief Justice to constitute a bench to hear the weighty taxation matter. This comes as a reprieve to Kenyans hit hard by the high cost of living and for whom higher taxes would translate into worsening an already bad situation. Also, on the front page of The Nation, partyless, Uhuru's top allies lose court battle for Jubilee. There's some party politics still going on there. And on the back page of The Nation, IMF to meet on Monday for 57 billion shillings Kenya loan approval. So just in case you thought that the borrowing had stopped, it has not. So Monday, if they say yes, 57 billion inside.
Very good.
New businesses listing spikes as 9,000 firms close in 5 years. That's a big deal, guys. People are not able to keep afloat. People are not able to continue with their business.
But more have registered.
Yes, more have registered. 9 out the door. More have registered. So it's giving a tale of the balance then between the good and the bad in terms of business. We'll look into those.
Okay. The Business Daily. Kenya's fuel taxes beat South Africa and the US on higher VAT. Kenya has joined the league of countries collecting the highest taxes on fuel, calculated as a percentage of the final price, overtaking bigger economies like the US and South Africa. Business Daily has done an analysis that shows taxes in Kenya now account for 40% of the cost of every liter of super petrol and diesel, compared to 14% in Illinois state, the state with the highest fuel taxation in America. And South Africa, which is at 30%. Ethiopia does not tax fuel.
I thought you said Utopia.
Ethiopia does not tax fuel. Though Tanzania has the cheapest fuel in the region, the ratio of taxes as a percentage of the pump price ties with Kenya at 14%. Allah? So explain. Tanzania fuel is taxed at 40%, but it's still cheaper than Kenya.
Kenya's fuel. So, where is the higher amount coming from? So anyway, so that's how it goes.
So Kenya charges 7 levies and 2 taxes on fuel.
That's why more taxes.
7 levies and 2 taxes.
Is it just one tax in Tanzania?
I think,
and now that 140% includes other things.
Even in Tanzania, it must be several.
Yeah.
It can be 140% tax on. It can be VAT because they also have VAT.
Yeah.
And VAT is not 40% in TZ. So, yeah. The other headline: Court deals state another blow in 210 billion shilling tax fight. That is coming from what Justice Mugore Thande did yesterday by extending the freeze on new taxes. Then the ticker headlines in the Business Daily: IMF seeks tighter controls on Kenya's borrowed cash. The Central Bank of Kenya Act is set to be amended in changes meant to tighten the use of borrowed funds, the World Bank has revealed, as the country comes to terms with disclosures by the Auditor General that Kenya does not have audited financial statements on public debt. That meeting that you're saying is happening next week.
Monday, yeah.
It's coming with conditionalities.
It's coming with motto.
We have to see where the money is going. Don't just come and take money from us. MPs save firms from paying interns and footing health bills. Employers have been spared from mandatory hiring and paying of interns and offering them insurance after a parliamentary committee thwarted a push by the Cabinet Secretary for Public Service, Aisha Jumwa. Another one: Safaricom adds 675 new jobs after Ethiopia entry. This is in the year to March, many of them being in its Ethiopia subsidiary that went into full operation during that period. The NSE-listed telco says its headcount has risen to 6,616. Safaricom employs 6,616 people. Higher, City. The Star.
Yes.
In teal green.
Yes, the teal green corner referred to Chief Justice. Major blow to Ruto as court declines to lift Finance Act order. Story is on page 2. Okay, this means the government cannot implement the new tax measures. In short.
Huyu ni Okoh Mtata?
That is Okoh.
Okoh Mtata cannot tell Ruto. Na nilikuwa nimekuona.
Yes, indeed. Yes, and he went to court. Further down, there is a picture of the Ethiopian Prime Minister, Abiy Ahmed, and President William Ruto sheltering under an umbrella, so wherever they are must be raining. Ruto tells warring Sudan factions to stop their fighting. Stop fighting. Stop fighting.
I'm sure he must have said it just so.
You, come here. Stop fighting.
Stop fighting.
Yes. Now this, comes against a backdrop of interpretations of this as our president leading the charge for Pan-Africanism yet again. Okay? Saying, these things of visas, restrictions.
Stop it.
It's a good conversation.
I think so.
It's a very good conversation.
I'm actually very impressed with the stance that he's taken, especially on this Pan-African and talking about the fact that African countries need to come together. I really do like the position that he's taking, and I would hope that he would continue in that stead. Even if for anything, it's to rile folks up to start to say, look guys, what are we doing here? You can't always come to the table under the table, and you have to come as a unified force. Because in terms of your advantage and disadvantages, they're very similar one to the other on the continent. So rather than come as split, why can't we come together, number one? I think he should keep pushing that kind of conversation, and it's going to get people to start to talk and start to act.
It is a good conversation.
Yeah.
Right, setback to Uhuru as tribunal ratifies Kega Jubilee job. Okay? This story is on page 6. Okay? The court has gone and said, you know what?
Jubilee Nikera.
That one, it's good. Far from the appellant submissions, we do not see any non-compliance with either the registrar's statutory duty or our decision in appeal, number 1 of 2023. So, Kanini is Kega, and Sabina Shege is where she is. Sasa. It's called the new brand Swanky Jubilee. Okay, now what it is that they actually inherit. Then bang in the middle of the paper,
the big one.
Big, excessive force. Spokesman says they'll comply with orders. CS Kindiki and police chiefs divided over Raila protests. Grumbles. After minister tells cops to assess demos before responses.
Please do it again, for my pleasure.
Then there's a massive picture. Raila ups drive to 15 million signatures, ready for Wednesday's demos. There's a picture of
So
Raila.
it's not even 10 anymore.
No, it's
15.
2015.
So if you give it time, it may even get to 20. Now, this is Raila in a matatu, okay, going from point A to point B. And if you look inside the paper, there are other pictures of Raila taking a walk. This is good.
Raila in a matatu. He calls it matatu.
Yes.
Matatu. 24/7.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Okay, so we're looking at traffic this morning. Building in different parts of the city. My page has closed. Okay, so we had seen some traffic building up on Jogo Road before getting into the city, and that's a little bit heavier as you get out towards Landis. As you get to the Kamkunji roundabout, it's also starting to build up. Nothing special, nothing major right now. We'll see a normal traffic on the Thika Superhighway as you get to that junction between Kiambu Road, Muthaiga Square, and then going out towards Pangani. That's where you see the most of it. And then further beyond that, there's traffic just before the Outer Ring Junction, well into Kasarani, and then well beyond that, Zimmerman, Kahawa coming then into the city. That's going to build up, and it looks like it's going to be quite some this morning. On the Northern Bypass, just a little bit of traffic here and there. Raka looks good. Kitisuru then coming out towards Limuru Road. You'll be fine. Waiaki Way, there was a bit of a hold up right as you get towards the expressway, but in minutes that has vanished. As you come out of Westlands, as you come then into James Gishoro, all of that is free and clear. Now will be the time to leave before you do get stuck. We'll be back to let you know what that looks like in about half hour or so, a few minutes after 7. Let us know. Spice FM, KE on Twitter.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
So the Presidential Working Party on Education Reforms still continues to let out some of the information that they've been able to gather over the last 6 months, 9 months now, but then, there was some time for compilation. They're talking about children learning in public schools are increasingly facing new threats that lead to harm, disruption of their education, and high school dropouts. All right. And this is a worrisome matter for the team. The findings of an education task force also reveal the emergence of new threats to learners in schools that put the children's lives and future at risk. In their draft report, the Presidential Working Party on Education Reforms mentions the emergence of criminal gangs, extreme ethnic violence in schools, religious-based radicalization, cyberbullying, and extremism as new ways that affects your child's safety in schools. The team observes that school children and youth are increasingly being targeted due to their vulnerability, poverty, and other cultural and religious factors. The revelations shine a spotlight on the Ministry of Education officials led by Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu over the safety of learners and the enforcement of children's rights in public institutions. The task force notes that recurrent violence in schools, drug abuse, gender-based violence, high levels of teenage pregnancies, harmful cultural practices, child labor, and mental health are some of the key reasons that your child may not complete their basic education. The team also lists threats occasioned by the lack of disaster preparedness and poor management of education. We saw a couple of years ago, remember the school that collapsed? There have been a number of reports.
Precious talent.
Yes. And then after that, there was a report that was supposed to come out, which was never made public, in terms of the safety, in terms of infrastructure, buildings.
Several schools were closed, by the way. Even.
Yes. And according to this report now, several schools are still under that threat because it just doesn't meet the muster, right? According to the team, it is evidence that there is inadequate coordination, monitoring and evaluation of the implementation of the existing policies, programs and guidelines within the education sector. So the team, in as much as they're giving recommendations of what should be done for curriculum and infrastructure and how schools in the secondary level should go into pathways, they're sounding an alarm here. And they're saying that in public schools, because of these threats, existential, that there's a problem. There's a problem on the social side and there's a problem on the infrastructure side, brick and mortar.
Okay.
So there's a problem where we're dealing with morals and you're dealing with things like violence and you're dealing with extremism, radicalization and things like that. But then you're also dealing with the ministry, its officials, those who are supposed to stick to certain policies, to have a certain basic standard of operation in public schools. They are not being met. And so the ministry now is coming under fire. It's not necessarily just the CS, because, he's just been around the block for a few months. But those who have been in the ministry who are supposed to stick to a set of guidelines, according to this party, have not. And unless you do something about it, the word that's coming from them is that our children in public schools are not safe, and if this continues in the future, they will be even less safe.
So, what needs to happen?
Now, in terms of recommendations, the team proposes that the Ministry of Education collaborates with the Ministry of Interior and Kenya National Bureau of Statistics to carry out periodic research on the rising and persistent case of school violence. The multi-spectral team must also launch a national mass campaign and action against alcohol, drugs and substance abuse in basic and higher education institutions.
Okay.
In addition to these, Machogu's team must strengthen the provision of guiding and counseling services and mentorship for learners, teachers, trainers and lecturers in all education institutions. This is after they found out that professional guidance and counseling staff and the peer counseling was very low, if not non-existent.
We're not doing well.
All these things that they speak of, who is supposed to implement them?
The Ministry of Education.
Through whom?
Through the CS and the education officers.
And when they cascade it down to the schools, who's supposed to operationalize it?
It goes now to head teachers and then the guiding and counseling team.
All right. The same head teachers whom we said...
Some of them don't even exist.
Precisely.
Yes.
And the same teachers whom we said have 1,001 complaints.
They're not enough.
And the
They're
said teachers who haven't been posted to schools.
Yes. And usually your guidance and counseling person is also your PE teacher and it's your librarian.
It's one person.
Yeah.
So we are saying that you want the implementer of these wonderful things that you've listed, the same people who have a myriad, 1,001 complaints about the system and what have you. And against a backdrop of not the school system, children within schools simply going haywire.
Yeah.
And have they figured out why that is happening?
Well, that's interesting because they're saying that the guiding and counseling component doesn't exist in some cases. Or it's very weak or doesn't exist. Channels of escalation or channels even of information finding don't exist. So for you to then, if the channel doesn't exist, the chances of you finding out the reasons as to why these things are happening, can you imagine how much more difficult that would be? I think this working party is just falling short of saying that the education system in this country is collapsed. If that doesn't exist in their report, maybe somebody's going to edit it and put it there. But from what we've been seeing periodically over the last couple of days, this is where it's heading. That the education system here, Omo.
Have they actually told us what the problem is when they say the education system has collapsed? Has it?
Well, now they're giving us bits and bobs.
They haven't said it's collapsed.
They've not said it. That's why I say they've just come short of saying that, right? Because look at what they've been doing since Friday.
It's not the education system. It's the education ministry that has collapsed. It is the TSC that has collapsed. The teachers go to school and they teach. The support system that these two institutions are supposed to provide are the ones who seem to have a problem. It's not the teachers. Everything that they're talking about, we are seeing the consequences, the aftermath. What happens when these individuals with their task forces and working groups and so forth, and all these suggestions that they keep coming up with, which are never looked at or implemented, you have a group of individuals in whose hands you've entrusted the future of this country the future being represented by the children, the future that you keep saying ought to be bright. And these are the people who, it seems you are determined, must live under some really, really trying conditions. Always complaining about this, not having enough this, not having this or the other. This isn't quite working. It's not them who provide these things. They're supposed to go there and teach. These institutions are supposed to ensure certain things happen, and they don't happen.
They don't.
So the education system is fine. The education ministry is messing things up.
This is it.
Considerably.
And I think if there's going to be, because this is a draft, and I really do think that in conclusion, when it actually does happen, it will be clear to anybody who then consumes this report that what you said is the case. It will be clear.
Unfortunately, education is big business. And those in charge of our education system are in business with the system. So the chances of it actually being corrected are slim to none.
Oh my God.
Because either those who are in charge are running their own private schools, and you'll hear them talk about it, or they milk the system in its confusion. That's how they make their money. So if you just try and organize this thing and make it work, you are taking away a meal from them, right from their mouths.
How do you explain schools which don't exist receiving capitation? How do you explain this? How do you explain children who don't exist having capitation allocated to them? I mean, it's not the teachers who do this. These things happen at the ministry.
That's true.
Yep.
So it doesn't matter how many working parties or working non-parties we have. This situation is not going to change. Because we are not the issue that ought to be addressed is not being addressed. All this is window dressing, it's camouflage, it's a smoke screen. Activity is meant to show us that something is being done. And what's happening is activity. Changes are really not forthcoming.
People are just moving around, making noise, sha, sha, sha. Nothing is really going on. You're right.
When people are charged with crimes against humanity, people who work in this ministry should be among the people who are charged with crimes against humanity. Absolutely. How do you condemn an entire generation to this mediocrity that they're referring to as an education? And they're doing this knowingly.
And not one. Unfortunately, this has been there for at least 30 years.
Yes, it has.
Okay? So those who are presently working in this ministry are basically people who were brought up in this corrupt
in that
system.
Culture.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
and they've gone and perfected it.
Yeah.
They've just improved.
Nkubaya
kabisa bwana.
There are two stories here in the Standard which are quite big. So the Court of Appeal is making some landmark judgments. One on the issue of death sentence and two on the issue of sentences for elderly prisoners. Let me start with the death sentence and life sentence. So the Supreme Court had said death sentence, really, there's no point of even having it, right? But we're not going to remove it from the law. Now, the Court of Appeal has declared life imprisonment to be unconstitutional. The landmark judgment now alters the matrix on how court will prefer charges against capital offenders and those convicted for defilement. Justices Pauline Nyamweya, Jesse Lesit, and George Odunga unanimously agreed that it is unfair to outlaw mandatory death sentence only to order a person to remain behind bars until they die. So you have basically outlawed death sentence. Let's not kill you, but let's keep you incarcerated until you die. According to the judges, the purpose of jailing a person is to either deter, rehabilitate, denounce, or retribute for the offense committed. However, they say, a life sentence should not mean that natural life of a prisoner. We are equally guided by the holding by the Supreme Court of Kenya in the instant appeal. We are of the view that having found the sentence of life imprisonment to be unconstitutional, we have the discretion to interfere with the said sentence. The judges were determining an appeal filed by a gentleman called Julius Kistau against the state. Kistau had been charged with defiling a 4-year-old minor. This thing had happened in 2013 when he says that he heard noises at his neighbor's house. Now, there was a confusion here. How old was Bwana Kitsao at the point? Kitsao claimed that he was 15, but it was established, and he did not argue, an age assessment indicated that he was 18, okay, at the time of committing this offense. And this was defilement of a 4-year-old child. So initially, of course, the magistrate's court handed him a tough sentence, a life sentence. He appealed that decision before the High Court, but Justice Ruben Nyakundi in the High Court dismissed his appeal and upheld the life sentence. He moved to the Court of Appeal now, and this is where the issue comes in. The judges observed that in his mitigation, Kitsao did not plead that he was young at the time. So they said, look, dude, in your mitigation, you're not talking about your age. So, all right, we retain that you are guilty. The guilt verdict stays. But there was a view that his actions towards the minor were likely to affect her life as well. They directed that he, instead of serving a life sentence, he serves 40 years for deterrence and rehabilitation. We set aside the sentence of life imprisonment imposed on the appellant and substitute a sentence of 40 years in prison to run from the date of his conviction. An analysis of convicted persons between 2019 and 2021 indicates, listen to this, in 2019, there were 511 convicts, among them 4 women who were handed a life sentence. 2019 alone. 511 life sentences. 2020, 128 men and 2 women imprisoned for life. 2021, 268 men and 5 women jailed for life. As in, there is no year that we're doing less than 200 people jailed for life. Okay? Now, in just those 3 years, 2019, 2020, 2021, we have 511 plus 128 plus 268. We are basically approaching 1,000 people who are in prison for the rest of their lives. What are these prisons? Where are these prisons? How are we maintaining them there until they die?
Is there a case to be made to...
What's the purpose of that? So the bench criticized the decision to commute the death sentences to life. According to the judges, although the Supreme Court found the death sentence to be legal and the same has remained legal to date, it serves no purpose as the person to be handed death. The last person to be hanged was Hezekiah Oichuka in 1987. Since then, nobody has been hanged in Kenya. All these people are just staying in prison. And the judges are saying, what's the point?
Why? If you're not going to kill them.
Yeah, what's the point? If you're going to rehabilitate, let's work on the rehabilitation and all. So they serve some years and they come out.
You know, the judges raise a really pertinent issue because at the heart of this discussion is what really are our prisons for? Are you just supposed to incarcerate people? Are we supposed to punish them? What are we supposed to do? Do we have an actual process of rehabilitation in our prison system?
No. There isn't.
Or just throw you in,
yes,
lock the door and forget?
There is no, I mean, we look at several studies that have been done. Kenyan prisons, a lot of prisons on the continent is not rehabilitative in nature. It is punishment. And it's actually locking up, throwing away the key and forgetting about you until the time comes where either an appeal, and very rarely do appeals come through for sentencing.
Yeah.
So you're going to stay there until your sentence is over. If you're day and night, then clock 7 years or whenever you're given, then you're out. But if it is for life, my friend, you will rot. Literally, the term rot in jail.
Imagine.
Is lived out.
Yep.
Yeah. Rehabilitation does not occur in Kenyan, in African prisons. It does not occur.
And think about then the cost to the state.
Yes.
All right.
Because you will feed them.
You're taking care of this person.
You will take care of them. Everything about them, you will take care of it.
Yeah.
You will take care of their personals because you cannot leave them in a state less than that. You must take care of that because you keep
all
them alive.
the way until they die naturally.
Yeah.
Which is another one now brings us to the second case. Elderly prisoners in different jails in the country might be going home soon. This same judges directed Attorney General Justin Muturi to kickstart legislative amendments to facilitate periodic reviews of sentences for convicts who are 70 years and above to determine whether they should be released or not. According to the judges, Pauline Nyamoya, Jesse Lesit, and George Odunga, the law should also factor in a review of those who have served sentences that are more than 20 years. The 3 judges say it's unfortunate that the country has no parole system. Hence, those who are in their sunset days tend to suffer the most and become a burden to prison authorities, and taxpayers. Such persons are subjected to the vagaries of harsh prison conditions, even when it's clear that their continued stay in prison can no longer be justified under any of the penological grounds, and to the contrary, is detrimental to the health of the prisoner and a burden to the prison authorities who have to take care of people who may well be in their vegetative state. Imagine somebody now who's elderly, they're in that state. Now you have to take care of them.
Before they get there, you want to release them. What were they in prison for in the first place? You see, this discussion on rehabilitation has to come in again.
Capital offense, it'll be murder, it'll be sexual offenses, robbery, violence.
Yes. Now, do we have a system in our prison service where you assess individuals to determine whether they can actually go back and live? Because if I was a criminal and I'm pathologically inclined in that direction, what makes you think that the years will have dulled my instincts?
Exactly. And that's why I'm saying that the system is not rehabilitative, because such a department, such an individual who would be asking about this process of change does not exist in prisons. At least not here.
Yep.
Not on the continent. They don't exist. That's what I'm saying. It is, okay, prisons, our job is to make sure that we've locked them up and that we are keeping them alive.
We are assuming that just because you were convicted of a capital offense, then you're pathologically inclined to be that way, and you cannot change.
Rehabilitated, or that you cannot change. That's the assumption, which is fundamentally wrong.
So this was after an appeal that was filed by a gentleman called Mukumbi Subui. He's 71 years old. He was incarcerated in 2009 after being found guilty of defiling a 9-year-old girl. He was handed a life sentence. However, upon appeal, the High Court judge, Justice Fala Amin, dismissed the case. At the time, the gentleman was 55 years old. He moved to the Court of Appeal, arguing that the age has taken a toll on him. He stated that he can no longer take part in rigorous rehabilitative activities and can no longer compete with youthful offenders for facilities offered in prisons. He's like, now at my age, sabuni kikuja inaenda, top layer inaenda. I'm just here, they just shoved me aside. He said he should be allowed to spend his sunset years at his home. He did not challenge the guilt finding. The DPP opposed that appeal, but the 3 judges allowed him to go home. They ordered that the judgment should be passed to the AG, and the AG should find a way of making sure that after every 20 years, somebody being in prison, you are in prison for at least 20 years, we have a review system that looks at, all right, so do you need to continue staying here? Have you been rehabilitated enough? Can next society accept you? Can we take you back into the society and assimilate you back into the society? Can we walk away of taking you back?
You know, every time I hear complaints about the judiciary, bottleneck to this, a den of iniquity, God knows what, and then you come across some of the rulings, some of the judgments, and you have no choice but to say, but our courts are progressive. There's some thinking taking place there. There are individuals who want to see change. They actually want, they're taking their job seriously, and they're determined that this justice that they're supposed to try and determine, they are actually going to determine it. And they're going to look at the norm and say, if the norm isn't serving justice, we are going to alter that norm. And we're going to ensure that these citizens of this country get what is their due under the Constitution.
What?
Before we end, Kenya is the least best place in East Africa to give birth.
Why?
It's the worst place to give birth.
Yes. Remember that health service that we're talking about, the demographic health survey? All right. In this country, 27 out of 1,000 live birth, 27 children die in this country.
27 out of 1,000 live births.
Oh my God.
I've got your attention, actually.
27 out of 1,000 pregnancies end in death.
It's not it. I've got your attention. That is a sub-Saharan figure.
Oh my God, I was going to say,
yes.
that is crazy.
Yes. We in Kenya have a very, well, we're not too far away. We have 21 deaths.
Out of 1,000?
Yes.
That's
Our
still
two
a lot.
countries, Tanzania and Rwanda, do much better than us. Rwanda, in fact, does the best. They have the lowest in East Africa.
Which is?
They have 19.
19 out of 1,000.
Yes. But if you look at the larger East African area, DRC, 30 out of everyone.
Of your life.
That's a story.
Sudan.
That's an interesting story. Keep it, and then let's discuss it sometime.
Yes.
Right?
So
7 a.m.
Good morning, this is News. I'm Dennis Aseto. President William Ruto will today host visiting Iranian leader Ibrahim Raisi at State House, Nairobi, before they address a joint press conference at 9 a.m. The meeting will be Ruto's first official engagement since jetting back into the country Monday evening from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, where he attended IGAD Quartet Heads of State and Government meeting that focused on the Sudan conflict. Raisi is on a 3-day visit to Africa, which includes Kenya, Uganda and Zimbabwe. According to IRNA, this will be the first visit to Africa by an Iranian president in 11 years, and it is part of the government's inclusive foreign policy. Iran's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Nasser Kanani described the trip as a new turning point which could bolster economic and trade ties with African nations. Raisi's tour is intended to strengthen Iran's position in the $600 billion Africa economy, in line with the administration's stance on economic multilateralism. And Sudan's government refused to participate in a regional meeting to resolve the crisis in the conflict-racked nation, accusing Kenya, which had the talks of favoring rival forces. Around 3,000 people have been killed since mid-April when fighting erupted between Sudan's rival generals, while nearly 3 million have been forced to flee their homes. The East African Regional Bloc IGAD had invited the force Sudan's Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo, commander of the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, to a meeting in Ethiopia's capital. Neither attended the talks personally in Addis Ababa, although the RSF sent a representative to the quartet meeting led by Kenya, South Sudan, Djibouti and Ethiopia. Now, the political parties' disputes tribunal upheld the appointment of the East African Legislative Assembly Member of Parliament as the substantive Jubilee Party Secretary General. The tribunal's ruling is a major blow to the former President Uhuru Kenyatta, who has been angling to keep control of the party by backing former Daragwa MP Jeremiah Kioni's claims to the Secretary General post. The Jubilee Party Kega-led faction had on May 19, 2023, subsequently resolved to expel Kioni and Vice Chair David Murathe from the party. Kioni, Murathe and Kagwe Gishohi on May 25, 2023 consequently launched an appeal seeking stay orders for the changes in party leadership. In recent months, the two factions, Kioni and Kega, have accordingly engaged in a fierce struggle over the leadership of the party. The Kega faction more recently took action by removing retired President Uhuru Kenyatta as the party leader and installed nominated MP Sabina Chege as the acting replacement. Here is their reaction after that directive from the party's disputes tribunal.
Tutapewa mwelekeo na kiranja wa chama Mheshimiwa Sabina Chege, na tutapewa mwelekeo na Secretary General wetu Kanini Kega kwa mkutano kuu wa chama ambayo tulikuwa tumeipangia tarehe 22 majuma mawili yajayo. Watakaa chini na mawakili na watupatie mwelekeo kama tutakuwa na kongamano kuu ya kuidhinisha viongozi ambao tuko na wao kwa sasa. Na tatu, bila kuogopa, ni kwamba vitisho ambayo tumeendelea kupewa na wahusika wetu wa kitambo ndani ya Azimio. Kiona rafiki yako ananyolewa, chako pia kitie maji.
The new Chief Executive Officer of the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority, Andrew Mulwa, says he's initiated major reforms at the institution that has made headlines for all the bad reasons in the recent years, from the COVID-19 millionaires in 2020 to the recent Global Fund scandal. KEMSA has enjoyed bad publicity, raising concerns even beyond the borders. The immediate former CEO, Terry Ramadhani, was sent home in the wake of the Global Fund scandal that was her predecessor's Jonah Manjari, who was fired at the height of COVID-19 pandemic. While none of these has changed formally in court, questionable deals under their tenure are under scrutiny, including by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. And police in Transmara, Narok County have arrested 20 people over the resurgence of chaos along the Cairo-Noretet border. According to Narok County Commissioner Isaac Masinde, the multi-agency team bringing together GSU, RDU, ASTU and non-uniformed officers began flashing out individuals mentioned to be behind renewed skirmishes. Masinde said they are also following leads to illegal guns believed to have been used in recent attacks, which have left an unknown number with various injuries. This comes days after 3 governors from the vast Mac community pitched camp in Kilgoris a fortnight ago in an effort to bring a long-lasting solution between the two warring clans of Irwa, Shinsiku and Isiria. During the operation, one of the area assistant chiefs from Isiara clans was also arrested. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
Spice FM, Nakuru. This is the Situation Room, the home of
7 o'clock, and traffic is really busy on the Thika Superhighway coming into the CBD. We'll see some of that coming in then from Kiambu Road as well. Heavy as you get towards the DCI, coming in from a northerly direction. Juja Road started busy, still continuing with that. Kangunda Road is piling up, and is Manyanja Road as well. Everybody's now connecting towards Outer Ring. If you're getting on Outer Ring, it's going to slow you down just a little bit. If you're going towards the Eastern Bypass and you're at Cabanas, then using North Airport Road, that also has quite some traffic today, and it's moving along quite slowly. What else are we looking at? Traffic coming out of Lavington and then spilling over towards Westlands on Wayaki Way, out towards the CBD. Uhuru Highway will slow down a little bit as you get towards that junction at Haile Selassie. But after that, you'll be fine. Let's talk on Spice FM KE on Twitter. Keep things moving this Tuesday.
Spice FM, Nakuru. This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start.
Your only way to start the day. Good morning. Welcome to the second hour of the Situation Room. We're live on Spice FM, KTN Home, and on YouTube and Facebook. Kenya's biggest conversation, working very well with Colgate and Naivas to bring smiles to children's faces. And not just the children, even their siblings, their parents, their grandparents, communities. Basically, imagine what happens when a community then has access to clean drinking water. Unlimited access to clean drinking water. Just because what we did is sink a borehole, a well, in their neighborhood. So what is Colgate asking us to do?
And how can you sink that borehole? Essentially, when you walk into any Naivas supermarket countrywide and you buy Colgate toothpaste, part of that money goes towards making sure that 30 new wells are sunk. That essentially would affect the lives of 150,000 people. Just imagine that. When you buy your brand of Colgate, people have access to water, lives are changed, lives are saved, and you can contribute to that as well. So any of your Naivas supermarkets, walk into them countrywide, buy some toothpaste, and get some water flowing for folks.
Big stuff, big stuff. Asante sana. Siti.
Yes.
We are going to be commemorating the African Anti-Corruption Day shortly. Our guests are getting to the studio shortly from the EACC and from the Magistracy of the Judiciary. But before they do that, there's a story that you're telling us as we're getting into the news, which is about how we are faring when it comes to births and
deaths of births. There's something that is referred to in medical terms called live births. Children are actually born under a live. But then there's something else with this. It's called the neonatal period. The first 28 days of their lives, it's one of the most critical. Now, during that period is when babies die. Okay. Now, what we were saying was, according to the Demographic Health Survey that was released recently, Rwanda and Tanzania have the lowest rate. Out of every 1,000 live births, only 19 die. It should be 0, but 19 die. Okay.
This is within that neonatal period.
Yes, that 28 days.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Now,
children are born alive.
Yes.
But they die within 28
those 28 days. It's critical.
Okay.
And the reasons for these deaths, according to what is being stated here, is something that can actually be prevented. Sometimes it's prematurity, intrapartum related deaths, and neonatal infections. Okay. That process of birth, from the time the child is born to the time that they actually delivered, complications can arise. Okay. That's what they call the intrapartum. Okay. Infections can occur. The child can be born premature. All these things pose threats. Okay. Now, Kenya is, out of every 1,000 live births, 21 die. Okay. Uganda, for the last decade, has remained steady at 27. That's their rate. It's higher than Kenyans. Now, then we go to Burundi. Okay. Burundi is at 25. And now we get stratospheric. We go to DRC is 30.
Wow. Okay.
Then we go to Southern Sudan. It is 40.2.
That's huge.
No, it's massive.
It's a very big number.
It's a very, very big number.
And especially when you consider this is not a number we are talking about.
These are children who are dead.
Children.
Yes.
All right. This is a mother who has carried a pregnancy for the duration of the pregnancy, delivered a baby, and then the baby dies. This is somebody who was looking forward to motherhood, gone all the way, and then the baby has died. It's a painful one.
It is. It is. And also, with the death of children, babies, there's also the possibility of the death of mothers.
Yeah.
Now, if you look again at our continent, now these are UNICEF figures, it's flatlined, meaning it's neither going down nor going up. But it means mothers also die. Again, it's because investment in the health sector has stagnated. In many cases, it has gone down. So all this talk that you hear of government officials and presidents and health ministries and health ministers speaking about what they've done, clearly it isn't being felt, and clearly it's not bringing about change.
Yeah.
Because what we should be talking about is a reduction and a constant reduction of these numbers. Okay.
Yeah.
With all the money that we talk about being spent in the health sector, these numbers should have reduced significantly.
You know, it goes on the back of also another story and some studies that was conducted. And I was working on a documentary for this. A study conducted by a consortium of people, including Lancet, the Global Health Organization, university in Finland called Tampere University, and others. 1 in every 4 children in the world are born something called small vulnerable newborn. Either small for their gestational age, or they're born preterm, or they're born underweight. 1 in every 4 globally. Now, the chances of those outside of Africa surviving is very high, because it says that at least 9 in 10 preterm babies survive in high-income areas, compared to 1 in every 10 born in low-income areas. 9 in every 10 will survive in those high-income countries.
And in low-income countries?
In low-income countries, 1 in every 10 will survive.
Like it's inversed, isn't it?
It's completely inversed, right? And it's a big thing, because then what does that mean? How do we get to that point where the children are being born preterm, small for their gestational age, or underweight? There are things that are happening during pregnancy that maybe could be avoided. And you'll find that it also comes into this when we say that now children who are dying in this first 28 days, many of them are those ones that were born small, vulnerable,
Yes, exactly.
Those ones are the ones that are now dying.
Yes, and they're also susceptible to those illnesses that we spoke of.
Yeah.
But again, UNICEF says and WHO concur that the investment into maternal and newborn health is declining. Now, it's strange when our budget for health increases, but for this particular sector, the actual money that gets to them is declining. Somewhere along the line, we've mixed up priorities.
Yeah.
Completely.
It's something about lack of understanding, because the push for ensuring that the under 5 survive, reducing the under 5 mortality has been a big one. And especially the previous First Lady, remember that's a whole...
She pushed for it.
Yeah.
It got the attention, and there was traction, and there was change. Because she wasn't just talking, there were things being done, and there was a support system to ensure that it was done. Okay? However, you see, you judge what is said by what you actually see being actualized.
Yeah.
If you do not see it being put to practice, then it was just a conversation people had, or worse still, it was just someone who was talking with no intention whatsoever of making sure that this thing actually happens.
Of changing anything.
The thing is, because if these deaths, from this report, if these deaths are all avoidable, there was something that could have been done to make sure that they do not end up in death. These things are being done on the other side, where the numbers are 9 out of 10 having been survived, right? So then the question is, what then ought to be done, and why are they not being done?
Yeah. You see, the life of a child doesn't begin on the day they're born. Huh?
No, it doesn't.
And in the West, they ensure that the healthcare provision also caters for the unborn child, meaning you can understand and you can tell if there are complications even before that child is born. You're prepared for when that child is born. Yes.
So you go through that entire journey.
Yes, you do.
With the pregnant woman.
Yes.
Up to the point of delivery.
Yes.
And post-delivery.
Yes.
And it's important. Well, our guests are here, African Anti-Corruption Day 2023. We are joined now by the Honorable Zipporah Gishana from the Anti-Corruption Court and Philip Kagushia, the Deputy Director in charge of Asset Recovery at the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. Good morning, Your Honor. Good morning, Philip.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Eric.
Karibuni sana.
Good morning, your team. I'm here to meet you. It's a pleasure to see you.
Well, the last time you were here, she wasn't here. I think she was.
This is my first time here.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, we've met elsewhere.
We met elsewhere, Eric.
Okay.
Karibu sana. Eric has his episodes.
Today is one of those days. So he's not taking his pill. So just give him
We've had people who've never been here, and Eric tells them, the last time you were here, we really had a nice conversation. They say, but I've never been here. So, yes.
We meet in many places.
Yes.
We do.
Now, she's a magistrate in the Anti-Corruption Court. We've met elsewhere.
It's true. But you also can't blame Eric because the memory is one. So, it's not as though it's diversified. Yes.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Welcome to the hot seat of the Situation Room. Yeah. Philip, good to have you again.
Thank you for having me.
Karibu sana.
Yes.
As we commemorate the African Anti-Corruption Day, you'll tell us what this is all about. But City has the day's proverb.
Yes, our proverbs for the whole of this week have been going to be from the country. My goodness. In my mind, it's almost Friday and it's only Tuesday. Okay. It's not just Eric. It happens here.
You've had a long day.
On this side.
Yes. Sometimes a week can be compressed in a day. Did you know that the civil strife we have in Sudan is the fourth one they've had since they gained independence in 1956?
I thought it was the third.
Fourth.
Okay.
Yes. You could say they've had more coups than they've had periods of peace. Yes. And with their coups are often come after a revolution. There is a revolution, there's a revolution council, then there's a coup. Okay?
Yeah.
It's a trend. The only problem is that this one seems to be infinitely worse than the others they've had, because they're actually decimating their own country even as we watch.
Very sad.
Yes. Proverbs from Sudan. Now, where are those proverbs? Now this one, I think, I didn't even know it was Anti-Corruption Week. Is it day?
African Anti-Corruption
African
Day.
Day, not week.
Yes.
Why isn't it a week?
We can commemorate it for the entire week if you wish.
Thank you very much.
We'll continue.
If telling the truth does not save you, lying will not.
Well done,
Oh, but then that's a proverb.
If telling the truth does not save you,
lying will not.
Your Honor, what do you make of this proverb? What's your interpretation?
Stick to your story.
Really? Eh?
Stick to your story. However uncomfortable, however unfortunate, stick to it. It is your story and you're the only one who can tell it.
Stick to your truth.
Yes.
Your truth.
Your truth.
Haki sikuwaona.
Your Honor, mimi siku hapo.
Mimi siku hapo. Hiyo picha ni ya mtu mwingine.
Your Honor, huyo sio mimi. Philip, what's your interpretation?
I suspect because Honorable Gishana sees these people on a daily basis. And maybe that's why Latiff thinks she's familiar. I don't know if you've been to the anti-corruption.
You know, Philip, the things that you've subjected me to in this life. If I were to write a book.
But I'm in agreement, and I don't know if perhaps for the benefit of this panel, is there a difference between the truth and my truth?
Yes.
Yes. So I think the better thing is the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it is, because my truth is very subjective.
Me, I'll stick to my truth. Truth from my perspective.
Yes. It's the truth thing.
Philip, we have had conversations here, and we were not in July about Anti-Corruption Day. Is that not so?
That is absolutely correct. And not to take anything away from what's happening this week, we are celebrating the African Anti-Corruption Day today. We've been here before because of the International Anti-Corruption Day, and that's usually in December, on the 9th of December. That is why it sounds so familiar. And if you feel a little bit lost, it's because we have the international event in December, and then we have the regional one, the African one, in July.
Why are they different?
Because the genesis is also different. When we go back to the United Nations Convention Against Corruption, that is the home of the International Anti-Corruption Day. But locally, we have the AU Convention on Preventing and Combating Corruption. And it is from that convention that we are celebrating the African Anti-Corruption Day. And it is particularly significant this time because we are commemorating 20 years since we passed the AU Convention on Preventing and Combating Corruption.
So the 11th of July is the date for the ratification of that?
No, it is for the African Anti-Corruption Day, but it is 20 years since we passed that convention.
So what I'm asking is why the 11th of July?
That is the designated date.
Okay.
I think 48 African countries have signed and ratified the treaty on a variety of dates, so I can't be sure exactly which date each country signed and ratified the treaty. Yes.
Why is it important that we commemorate Anti-Corruption Day?
Yeah, and that's a great question. I have been thinking about this, and it reminds me of why we go to church on Sunday. We all know there's a God, or at least we all believe there is a God, but we need to keep reinforcing the message. And if you look at the earlier chapters, the earlier articles of the AU Convention, it came into force because of certain concerns, and one of the major concerns I think CT has touched on. This is the concern of the impact of corruption on political stability, economic stability, social stability, and they went even so far as to talk about cultural stability. So when I hear CT talking about a series of coups in Sudan, these things are interconnected. And when you look at the insidious nature of corruption, corruption is like a cancer. It permeates every pore of society. It's important to go back and reaffirm the message. Why are we here? Why are we striving so hard to fight corruption? And that's why it's important to commemorate this day.
It's interesting you should say that, Philip, because there are those who argue that if indeed these occurrences that we have in human society, revolutions, coups, if, as they are stated, and if they were in reality for the people, you wouldn't have them recurring.
Exactly.
Then they name the people in the pursuit of their self-interest, and when that self-interest expires or someone else comes with their own brand of self-interest, then you have that change. So it's never ending.
Yes.
I think even in our sphere, the anti-corruption sphere, there's somebody who will tell you that we are doing this because we are fighting corruption. The question is it the truth or is it expedient? So, and I'm glad that we have Honorable Gishana here. I have a hard time referring to her as Honorable Gishana. We've known each other for decades.
Way back.
Yeah, I know her by another name. I will not mention it here. Yeah, we were in Nakuru at some point. Yes, yes. So I'm glad that she's here because on her end of the spectrum, she sees the output. So when EACC does the investigations, makes the recommendations, the prosecutor takes it up, the cases end up before the judiciary, and she sees these people face to face. And at that time, you start wondering, are these people here because sheria ndio mbaya ama wamefanya makosa, and then now she has to balance. And I just heard you talking about the prisons. Does she clog up the prisons with corruption suspects?
Exactly.
I guess that's a good question then, Honorable Shah. I mean, what are we looking at? If we look at the progression of fighting corruption, you want to think about it, putting on boxing gloves and getting this thing out of the way.
Yeah.
If you look at the progression and the prosecution and how that has evolved over the years, what would you say that looks like? I mean, we know the stance that the African Union has taken, and since we're talking about an Africa-wide commemoration of this day, we know the stance that they've taken, big on asset recovery, big on having guidelines for African countries to follow.
Yes.
But how have you seen the progression of prosecution of some of these cases over the years?
I think my take is that we are on the right path, in the sense that there is improvement. 10 years ago, these were not conversations we'll be having in a space like this, that we even have a space for us to come and talk about issues that affect us as a judiciary and EACC and other sectors. I mean, in this fight against corruption, this is quite a progress. Also, even when you look at the number of matters that are coming to court and we are actually finalizing and getting conviction, when you see how the judiciary has invested in ensuring that we have adequate officers to deal with the matters. Like now in my division, in the ACC court in Milimani, we have a constituent of 6 magistrates. In the High Court, which didn't have a division, now we have a division. It is now manned by 2 judges of the High Court. And you can see, in my view, this is actual progress. And also we have a very good stakeholder engagement with the other partners in the area, DCI, EACC, ARA, that is the Asset Recovery Agency. We're having these conversations all the time. And so I see progress and I'm encouraged. One thing about growth is that it might not be very obvious. I liken it to a growing child. When you're watching your child, you don't think they're growing, but suddenly, my shoes, mom, don't fit. How do you explain that? There is growth. That, in my view, it may be slow, but it is positive growth, and we should encourage it, and we should keep cultivating on it.
The thing that I often wonder about when, well, I'm glad you're here because now you can shed light on this matter that has bothered me for a while. Corruption. The cases that come before you.
Yes.
What is the common thread? What do you see? Who are the people? What are the things that bring them to you?
Abuse of office. More often than not, the number of persons who are brought to us, a good majority of the number of persons who are brought to us are public servants. So it is abuse of office, abuse of process, failure to follow the law. That is what I see. That is the thread I see.
Is money involved somewhere here?
Definitely, when we talk of abuse of office.
In fact, City, the full ingredient of the offense is you abuse your position to confer a benefit either upon yourself or upon another. So that the motivation is always the money.
There's always the money behind
it. There's always the money behind it.
But did you hear Honorable talking about failure to follow the law? That is what we were discussing the last time. That law they're talking about is usually procurement or public finance management.
Is this why there's this bill that is supposed to
to cure this problem?
This
is where the temperature was a bit high last time.
You see, when you talk about abuse of office, I'm sure that we are talking about here willfully, willingly, knowingly. You knew that this is the procedure.
Yes.
And you decided to cut corners.
Yes.
You knew that this is what your office requires you to do. You decided not to do it. Or you knew your office does not give you powers to do this, but it's decided to usurp somebody else's authority and conferred it on yourself, and you did it so that you can confer that benefit to yourself or to other, right? Somebody who is doing this premeditated will then be brought by Philip and his people to you, and they will try to abuse the system.
Yes.
Now, do you see those instances where the people who are being brought before the court are actually still actively trying to play the game, to play the system, to manipulate the system? And how do you deal with that?
From where I sit as an independent arbiter, it's a bit difficult to say that, in my view, they would be mounting a defense. And of course, they will use all tricks in the book, in the bag and in the arsenal. First of all, of course, you are well aware that a good number of those matters are very well defended by very high-profile lawyers. So I know the game, I know the tricks of the trade, and I am patient sitting as an independent arbiter. I cannot afford to be sidetracked. So that even when I see all this playing out, I can bid my time. And I know that we'll eventually catch up.
You know, civilians like ourselves who don't understand these processes with the clarity that the two of you do, often assume that when someone is incarcerated, then we see justice has been done. But then there's a school of thought who have the opinion that if you strip them of this ill-gotten wealth, then justice has been done.
Yes.
Then I came across something that people are now allowed to bargain. You know, you're allowed to sit and discuss and say, yes, you know.
Hii mambo ni kuongea.
I think perhaps what we need to be aware of, that at the magistrates' court, we are the ones who prosecute corruption matters. But we have another way also of dealing with corruption matters at the High Court level. They are dealt with as civil matters. And as civil matters, you'll see applications by the Asset Recovery Agency against individuals, where they're saying that your wealth, you need to explain how you have acquired your wealth. And these civil matters, actually net us quite some gains as a country, because you'll find that in the records, I think in the last financial year, they must have collected about 29 billion. If I'm not wrong. They have a publication, the ARA has a publication, and this is done from the division that deals with economic and anti-corruption matters in the High Court. So that indeed we have that kind of a plea bargain, even in the lower court, where you allow someone to maybe plead to a lesser charge, and then they agree to serve a sentence or a fine and that kind of thing. So it is not a misnomer in law. It is well accepted, and it has been done, not just in our situation, but also in other jurisdictions.
It's a good thing. At least someone has an opportunity to talk and discuss, and one can say that they are within their rights. But the question that I wonder is, at what point within the law does an economic crime, a civil case, something that involves the matters we've discussed, at what point does it become criminal?
In other instances, you find that they are actually pursuing both sides of the coin. You have like these matters that involve the NYS. I don't want to mention names, but some of them were in our courts as anti-corruption matters, and a few of them were also in the High Court as civil matters. And there was recovery of wealth. There was recovery of lost monies by the country. Yes.
Let's take a break. A lot to discuss as we commemorate this African Anti-Corruption Day 2023. And already people are asking, so is there anything to celebrate? When you're talking about corruption, anti-corruption, let's celebrate.
We're not celebrating corruption.
Anti-corruption, Eric.
It's a question. Somebody is saying the judiciary is still the bottleneck. We have a lot of suspect judgments. It seems that there's always a panya route when people come to the courts. And that's how the corrupt suspects use those panya routes to get out of jail free. But we'll discuss that. People and faith. Faithless.
So Showmax, another original title, out this week, actually out last week. Have you seen it? Very interesting.
I've not had the time.
Speaking of corruption, a young child walks in on a bag of money, and obviously the mother, the adult in the room comes and finds and says, oh wow, money in a bag, fantastic. So she's met with a dilemma. Shall my friends and I hop on this newfound wealth, or shall we as church-loving, obeying women take this money to whomever? So they're met with this, do we or do we not? She then finds out that her older brother is part of a ring where this money was gotten from, and somebody's out for his neck. Sounds like something you see on the street. It's actually Showmax's latest original title, released last week. Every week there's a new episode. Showmax.com is where you go to get the latest episode you should watch. TT has watched. And if TT has watched...
I have watched. The word is riveting.
Wow.
Let's talk about it after this break.
The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people, and we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing policy of conmanship, and even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Na hii mambo utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Sunny conditions in Nairobi at 11, highs of 25. We'll see lows of 11 today. It's 12 and sunny in Nakuru, highs of 27. 24 will be the high in a mostly sunny Nyeri at 11, and it's sunny at 13 in Eldoret, highs of 24 and lows of 12. Sun is up in Mombasa at 23, highs of 29, and we'll see highs of 29 as well in Malindi, where it's sunny at 24. Sunny at 20 in Kisumu, highs of 30 and lows of 18. And Kakamega is sunny at 17, highs of 28 and lows of 15 today. Looking out into Kampala, it's sunny at 19, highs of 28 and lows of 17. And Dar es Salaam, sunny at 23, highs of 31. It's slightly warmer in Johannesburg at 1 degree, highs of 13 today. And 30 will be the high in a clear Lagos at 25. 20 and clear in Kinshasa, highs of 32 and lows of 20.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. And right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, beehive activity on most of these Nairobi streets. We're looking at Jogo Road, and it's heavy as you go towards Landis. Landis are packed up quite some as you get towards Kamkunji into the city. And what's this? This is Langata Road. There's traffic coming out through towards Aerodrome and then onto Huru Highway. Some of that goes towards Raila Odinga Way. It's going to meet with what's coming off Gong Road, though. And there's heavy, almost annoying traffic on Kiambu Road today. Many lanes coming in from the DCI headquarters, as well as on the Thika Superhighway into Kahawa and off Mwiki Road. All of this is happening and coming into the CBD. So we're in traffic hour proper. This started a bit early, but that's where we are this morning. Nothing too crazy just yet. Hopefully we can keep it just so. Let's know what's going on in your neck of the woods. Text us on Twitter, SpiceFMKE.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Corruption Day 2023 with the Honorable Zipporah Gishana from the Anti-Corruption Court and Philip Kagushia, Deputy Director for Asset Recovery at the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. So, Your Honor, Judiciary, bottleneck. This has been said very many times. And when you sit there and you're thinking, my goodness, why are people calling me bottleneck all the time? How do you respond to this?
First of all, I think Judiciary happens to be the most visible of the player at the point when the matters are being prosecuted. But remember, this matter started way before with with investigations at the DCI or EACC. And therefore, by the time you're seeing the results you're seeing in court, a lot has happened. And even when we catch some of the flack we catch, it is just that we are the final stop on this conveyor belt. Justice is not a one-man show. It can never be done individually. For every matter that is in my court, there is the accused person, there is the defense counsel, there is the prosecutor, and there are the witnesses. So that all these have to be in harmony for you to finalize these matters in time. It is not it's not a one-man show. But of course, because I'm the umpire, I'm the one seated up there, it will look like the buck stops with me.
You're the one we'll see.
Yes.
But you see, this has also been said, not in that same manner. But CJ Emeritus David Maraga once told the prosecutors and the investigators, look, you're bringing a case to court in a manner likely to suggest that you want it to come and stall at my door, right? Because of the way you've brought one case, 9 accused persons, same charge. And then these 9 accused persons, each of them will have 2 lawyers. So by the time we just say, how do you plea? Morning gone. It's like it's just meant to, they are bringing it to you and then shining a spotlight on you so that it appears like you're the one who's not moving this case.
You're quite right, but what we realize is that we have to talk with each other. Through the National Council for Administration of Justice, we have what we call the court users committees. And in these court users committees, we have discussions. For instance, we had there was a time when we had a charge sheet with over, say, 40 counts. That I can tell you is completely impossible to prosecute or very, very difficult to pull off. So that we agreed as a team, and now we have resolved that. A maximum number of counts you'll see on the charge sheets are 12 in our courts. That is improvement in my mind. We also have come up with a working model where we have a pre-trial conference that involves everyone. And in those pre-trial conferences, we agree on the mode even of bringing in evidence, bringing witnesses, how long do you need, how long will it take. That improves how we carry out our work. This can only be done with continuous dialogue, and this can only be done also when there is goodwill on the part of each institution. For us as the judiciary, the NCAJ, remember, is an administration body that is wing of the judiciary. So we are always open to these discussions. Where there are issues, we try and resolve them. It will not help this fight if we are all about blame game. We are not moving forward, and we are not helping anyone in this.
Yeah. So I just wanted to just clarify a couple of things. First of all, when we talk about celebrating anti-corruption, this is not a celebration. I think it's a commemoration of the day, talking about gains that have been made around the continent. It's talking about viability of existing tools that have been set up to fight corruption. It's about the success that has been achieved over years. It's about participation and strengthening of those arms. So we talk about celebration. I know folks are, what are we celebrating? It's not about that. It's really about looking at the gains that have been made, how we can go forward, what can actually be done. Philip, we're looking at an Africa-wide conversation here. And again, looking at some of the things that the African Union is pushing, talking about asset recovery is a big deal. So that shows us that in most of the countries that commemorate this day, asset recovery, or rather, the willful or wrongful taking of assets is a thing. How would you say that has been dealt with? And then going into the future, to say that even though you're not necessarily deterring people, because we've seen, just because somebody has been taken to court does not stop the next person from doing it. Right? So then how then do you make gains on this if deterrence is not an issue?
And that is really the existential question, because, for example, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, it's a law enforcement agency and it has coercive powers of law, and we'll search your...
Philip, what are coercive powers of law?
Kutumia kifua. You see, I can go to court and get an order and come and search your residence. Okay?
That's coercive.
It is coercive because we're using a bit of force. Okay, and remember, these people are criminal, or if they're not criminal, they're criminal-minded. They're not the easiest people to deal with. I can give you numerous examples of when we've invited people to just come for an interview and recording of statements. Na anakuwa na kiburi. So sometimes, we tell them, if you don't come, we'll come and fetch you. You get? So I think when you see the professional side of EACC, you forget there's also the coercive side of EACC. And the question is this: do we want to persist on this enforcement thing, or are we looking for an equilibrium where we investigate, we recommend prosecution, they are let me say adjudicated, because she can't decide before she hears the evidence, and a day when we'll have an equilibrium where we have a balance between the enforcement and the prevention. And even the AU Convention is actually called AU Convention on Preventing and Combating Corruption. So that is the equilibrium we're looking at. And one of the tools, as Ndu rightly pointed out, is asset recovery. Now, when we're doing the prosecution before Honorable Gishana's court, the intention of that is to punish, because that person has done something wrong. But at the same time as we are punishing, we want to take away the profit of the crime. So that, and you know, the old mafia guys used to say they'd rather spend 5 years and come out because they'll still have their money.
They'll still have their money.
So this is a strategy from way back, decades ago. It's a strategy that governments across the world have discovered, that you might incarcerate someone for 5 to 10 years, but if they have $10 million waiting for them, they'll come out. Okay? And there is no legitimate work they would have done in the meanwhile to make that kind of money. So we do, it's two-pronged. But the objective long-term, and to answer your question, is that as we are prosecuting and as we are taking away the profits, what we are hoping is to reach an equilibrium where we are now raising the prevention message. And the prevention message is through creation of awareness. So a platform like this today on Spice, which lets people know that we are commemorating the African Anti-Corruption Day, is an opportunity for us to create awareness. The other thing that we are doing is we are strengthening institutions, and I know we've done some work closely with the judiciary. We just conducted either a systems review.
We did.
We just conducted a systems review for the judiciary, and we will make recommendations, and we will point out that in this area of your operations there's an issue. In this area there's a weakness, and these are our recommendations. Now going forward, because remember, the whole point of commemoration is to take stock of where you are.
Right.
This AU convention is 20 years ago. 20 years ago, there was no Spice FM. Okay? There was no platform to even have these conversations. As Honorable Gishana points out, we are even having this conversation in the media, in the public. Okay? So where are we now? Is it where we had hoped to be? Maybe, maybe not. But where do we aspire to be in future? So if we have done things like systems reviews, if we are creating awareness, and one of the other key mandates for EACC is promotion of ethics, we want leaders with integrity. All these things together, those are things that are going to help. And I think if you look at even the assessment of the East African region on anti-corruption, Kenya is still behind Rwanda, it's behind Tanzania. I think we might be ahead of Uganda, but I can check. But if you look at the Corruption Perception Index, you can see that we are all around the same place, because we are beset by the same typology of issues.
Okay. I have to ask though, Honorable Gishana, when we're talking about strengthening institutions, and you have glaring examples of when the same law or the justice system, after having passed somebody through the system, has been convicted, has been sentenced, but is still able to apply and appeal through the same system, and is walking around essentially free because they have not exhausted all avenues of appeal. Doesn't this water down all the work that has been done to recover, number one, to punish, as Philip has said, and people may blame the population for voting this person back into a position of governance. However, what allowed this to happen is that a system of the law has said, until all avenues have been exhausted, this individual may walk around free. I can see now when two bulls are clashing, because how then do you explain this? If we're saying systems are being strengthened, corruption is being fought, we've made gains, but then glaring in your face is an individual who's stolen hundreds of millions of shillings, but then is still allowed to hold office.
Forget that. They're even proposing an amendment to amend, I think, Section 64 of the Anti-Corruption Economic Crimes Act, where it says even convicts should be allowed to hold office.
So, I mean, what are we saying?
Now, legal framework. For us, we really just have to stay within the law. And the legislation of the law is done by the very, very people we elect. So I think we need to come back to ourselves as a society and ask ourselves what are our values. You remember that you have seen it in court several times where you have had perhaps someone who has been declared unfit to hold office, and they are still very much interested. And when you look at social conversations, times you wonder whether you live in the same society because you are unhappy about such individuals, perhaps as an individual, but you can see that they have quite a crowd of believers. So I think we need to change our attitude as a society and decide really what our value system is, what is important to us.
But don't you think we've decided actually? Yes, because if we were to look at how we go about our business and how it is we condone these very things that we like to pronounce as being wrong, and how we have embraced wholeheartedly as a society, as a Kenyan society, hypocrisy, meaning on the one hand we are church-going, we are religious, we are people who believe in God, while at the same time we do the very things that this God we purport to believe in abhors and categorically states is wrong and even calls it sin. Now, when people come to your court, how often do you see people who are remorseful?
I think it's like Philip captured it. Saa ingine kuna kifua, kuna kiburi, but mwishowe tunakutana.
You know, when I say remorse, it's not, there's this situation where, as Kenyans say, there's no otherwise, okay? There's no wiggling, you can't move, so now you realize you are stuck. Then you look remorseful. What I mean by remorseful is somebody who comes and clearly realizes they have done wrong and they want to now do right. And you can see this person understands they went wrong. Not that circumstances have compelled them, as we say in Kiswahili, kunyenyekea. No, not that.
But City, that opportunity is presented to those people at the very beginning when they are being investigated. For instance, I gave you an example. I could go to court and get warrants to search your premises. And the moment I come in...
Why go to court? Just tell me when you want to visit and you come.
So that you can move so that you can move the money. So maybe it will be an episode of Faithless.
You're right.
So so I've come with the orders, and on the day of the search, because it's a whole team, and you see like 10 people turning your house upside down, at that moment you start realizing, okay, I am in a mess. There's a lady we found $170,000 in her house.
How much again?
$170,000 cash.
And they're not fake.
In dollar notes.
Absolutely. And isitoshe an extra 1 million Kenya shillings. Okay?
That's the spirit.
All right? Na hiyo ni pesa ni ya matumizi. Kununua nyanya na maziwa. Okay? So at that moment, instead of reacting the way some of our people react, and they go to court and they say we are violating their right to privacy, their right to own property, we haven't given them a fair trial, and all that nonsense. That is the opportunity to demonstrate remorse, and you can say, you know what, I was involved in this and it is a mistake. So at the very onset, we know even how we will treat that individual is different. And that brings us to the other issue of ADR. I know Honorable Kishan has spoken about plea agreements. ADR is an avenue that we really need to pursue. In fact, I would argue that we will get more returns from alternative dispute resolution mechanisms. Whether it involves somebody taking a plea of guilty and being given, I don't know if you can get a suspended sentence, or they have these deferred prosecution agreements. You're told, okay, sawa, umefanya makosa, we will not prosecute you now. But if you do anything within the next 5 years, we're taking you back to court on the same facts.
same charge.
Yes.
Okay. So those are negotiations we need to have, and that's why I call it an equilibrium. We cannot rely absolutely on enforcement. Enforcement will solve. I think it should be left to deal with only the most egregious cases, the excesses, the worst of the worst. The rest of the time, we should be negotiating these things. Okay?
So you catch somebody who is clearly corrupt, who did those things we've discussed, right?
Yes.
Who abused their office, who obtained this money, And because of what they have, some children don't have water. Colgate has to come in and go and dig water wells. And then you tell this person it's okay, sasa wewe rudisha pesa.
No, it's not that easy. There is a policy. We have to be guided because think about it this way: if in your neighborhood there's a young man, because inevitably it's always the young man who's breaking and entering into houses. If he has done it 10 times, that's different from somebody who was hungry, who snuck into your house and left with a pot of food. Two different cases. Okay, they have both committed a crime, but this one is a hardened criminal. This one does not demonstrate any fear of the law, any respect of the law, and chances are when you arrest that, when you apprehend that individual, there'll be no remorse. Okay,
I have to ask this question
Yes.
to both of you now. There are these individuals who have determined that their career path is one of crime. Okay, they may not think so. They may think they're doing business, but they are criminals. Do you have an avenue where, when someone acknowledges and seems to understand that what they have done has dire consequences, for rehabilitative purposes, ethics and anti-corruption, do you people have a counseling wing or a place you can refer such people? Because some people actually need help. They may have gotten into this, but they could genuinely change. There's this opportunity. The understanding that once a criminal, always a criminal is not entirely true. And pilfering and misusing positions is a growth industry in the country. That is something that Kenyans take as a pastime.
That's how we are socialized.
Yes, it's like going to church. It's not something. So people sometimes get shocked and marvel. But do we have process, or are there thoughts towards processes where such people can actually be rehabilitated? Because tell them to go to church won't help, because they're already in churches. And they're even elders in some churches. They even have positions of authority, because perhaps their pastor doesn't know what they actually do, but you do.
I think there are a few options. For instance, at the EACC we have a National Integrity Academy. Okay, it does not necessarily do counseling in the psychological sense,
psychosocial sense.
Yes, yes, thank you.
You're very welcome.
We may not necessarily do it in that way, but we have programs which are trying to reinforce ethics in individuals. Now, we don't particularly care whether it's before whatever happened or after. And we have actually met people who have interacted with EACC and they say, hey, nilikuwa kwa shida, they even charged me, but I did one or two things, now I'm back in society. Because even from your previous discussion, about rehabilitation and reintegration, it's not like we want to kill Kenyan people who have been caught up in cases of corruption. We want to tell them that it's a wrong thing to do, and because you have been caught in it, what are you trying to do to mitigate? Because you're trying to reduce the impact. Judiciary has, I think, an institute as well, and we are collaborating. And remember, the fight against corruption is, so we have the criminal justice chain, where we have the investigator, the prosecutor, the judiciary, and so on and so forth. But we need society as well. Because I know you despair, CT, when you say we have already decided about how we want to live.
But we have, actually.
But it's the same thing even with faith, when we're having conversations such as this, what we're looking for champions of the anti-corruption debate. It's like we're recruiting disciples, the same way Jesus came and said, you guys are desperate, you guys are angry, you guys are confused, you guys are lost. That is why I'm identifying Peter, Sijui brother of Simon, Sijui who, and Andrew, and started identifying. By the way, at the end of this interview, I think I'll have recruited CT. CT will be one of my disciples.
There was Philip as well.
Yes.
I'm the 12.
So really quickly, even as you say that, that's interesting. And then from CT's point of, this is how people have accepted. Is it possible, do you think there can be a link between people understanding that corruption is money taken away that essentially could do good for Kenyans?
Yes.
Do you see that there's a linkage between that? And I guess that could come from awareness that is being built. If you do, I think half of that problem is solved.
It would definitely be a better argument to connect corruption and the violation of your human rights under the Constitution, especially what they call your economic and social rights. Rights to water, rights to healthcare, right to housing, to live with dignity, and so on and so forth. From where Honorable Kishana sits, if you're prosecuting somebody because walikula pesa ya hospitali, and the hospital now has no equipment, has no drugs. Somebody has died, that person's right to life has been taken away. Directly. So even as we are enforcing the law, that is some of the one of the things we should be reiterating.
Absolutely.
What cut out as you conclude?
It's interesting. I came in when you were talking about maternal health and the health of unborn babies and Kemri Matters, for instance, which we have finalized.
Yeah.
You have public servants taking up money that was intended to buy basic drugs. We have lost lives while at it. And the amounts look small because in that case, I think they were charged for only 800,000. The sentence that we gave, they were fined 19.6 million. So corruption does not pay.
That's true.
Corruption does not pay.
Your Honor, thank you very much for joining us today. Come again soon. Okay, so it will be your second time the next time. The Honorable Zipporah Gishana is from the Anti-Corruption Court. Philip Kahusha is the Deputy Director for Asset Recovery at the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. We've been commemorating and we are still commemorating the African Anti-Corruption Day. Keep it here for more conversations, 8 a.m.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Lawyer Miguna is among Kenyans who have applied for the position of the Director of Public Prosecutions in the country. On his Twitter account, Miguna broke his silence after Kenyans suggested that he is best fit to fill the vacant position. Others who have applied include lawyers Cliff Ombeta, Kioko Kilukumi, Katwa Kigen, and Dunstan Omari. The selection process will be conducted by a 7-member panel appointed by President William Ruto. Now, Health Cabinet Secretary Susan Nakhumicha has warned against the fraudulent insurance of tenders by the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority for the distribution of health products. Speaking during a KEMSA stakeholder conference, Nakhumicha stated that the government is working to settle all outstanding payments to allow KEMSA maintain firm and seamless partnerships with suppliers. Likewise, Nakhumicha warned the distributors against doubling up the prices of the products, and anyone found culpable will have their tenders withdrawn. She urged the distributors to avoid seeking unscrupulous means to secure tenders with KEMSA, since all operations will be streamlined. Long-distance drivers in the country have planned a national strike tomorrow to protest against the new rules imposed by the National Transport and Safety Authority to have all public service vehicles and commercial vehicle drivers take mandatory retest. The drivers claim that the new NTSA rules require them to undergo a new test for driving tracks, an issue they opposed and hold that it is discriminatory. In addition, they are complaining about the bad roads in the country and harassment allegations by traffic police officers. They have also asked the government to put in place strategies and laws to protect their interest instead of announcing shotgun laws that might spike havoc. NTSA announced the move on June 20th, noting that the periodic retest will be mandatory, conducted every 3 years before a driver renews their license. 26-year-old man has been sentenced to life imprisonment by the Siaya High Court after he was found guilty of murdering his mother over a lunch tussle in Gemyala sub-county. Silas Ouma Odongo, who appeared before Justice Daniel Ogiambo, was found guilty of murdering his 67-year-old mother, Jennifer Atieno Odongo, on April 16, 2023. The court heard that Odongo butchered his mother before presenting himself to the nearby Sinanga police station. In his statement, one of the witnesses, Luka Otieno Owidi, who is the convict's uncle, told the court that Silas had also reported to him that he had killed his mother. As the global community's attention is drawn towards food safety and food standards, the county government of Nakuru, in partnership with Center for Agriculture and Bioscience International, have rolled out a campaign seeking to reduce the risk of pesticides to stakeholders in the value food chain. The initiative, dubbed Ukulima True, that has also received support from the Center for Behavior Change and Communication Center, is further aimed at raising awareness of environmentally friendly biocontrol and biopractice products. According to Deputy Director Kabi Africa, Dr. Monica Kansime, Excessive use and misuse of pesticides is causing loss of biodiversity, destroying beneficial insect population and reducing food safety. Kansime indicated that through the program that will run up to December 2023, smallholder farmers are being trained to adopt good agricultural practices to ensure healthy crops and lower the risk of contaminating produce with dangerous pathogens or agrochemicals. A multi-agency team has recovered another illegal firearm in the ongoing Operation Maliza Uhalifu in North Rift. According to the National Police Service, a J3 rifle was recovered at Karau village following a successful operation. Sunday, the team recovered an illegal AK-47 rifle at Marwanze village, Paka location, Tiati E sub-county. The police said they will not relent until normalcy returns in the troubled region. Now, 21 countries categorized as arid and semi-arid lands will be the beneficiaries of a 19.6 billion shillings project that targets to boost their drought resilience and enhance their economic inclusion. The de-risking, inclusion and value enhancement of pastoral economies, which is funded jointly by the Kenya government, ZEP-RE, Kenya Development Corporation and the World Bank Group targets to drive, which will be officially launched by Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and targets 150,000 pastoralists in Aisol counties of Turkana, Marsabit, Mandera, Wajir, Garissa, Tana River, Isiolo, Samburu, among others. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Alseto. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. This is the Situation Room.
There's traffic on Langata Road and it's heavy this morning. It's getting out towards the city. We're seeing some of that spill over to Raila Odinga Way. And then Uhuru Highway is also pretty busy right about now. The Thika Superhighway, my goodness gracious me. And one more goodness. Heavy traffic as you're coming in from Survey. You might want to use the service lanes. Are there service lanes after Survey? No, they are not. So you just have to stick onto this one and then go out towards Pangani. There's traffic on Kiambu Road. It is very heavy. It is the darkest of reds on this map, so that means that it's heavy as you're getting into and through towards Muthaiga Square. So let's watch out for that. If you don't have to be there, do not use other routes. Tafadhali. All right, coming in from the northern bypass, there's some traffic as you get onto Kiambu Road. Of course, we've seen Ruaka and Limuru Road also busy right about now. We're still in traffic hour. Let's see what happens in half hour. So let's talk on Spice FM, KE on Twitter.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to...
We commemorate the African Anti-Corruption Day. There's going to be a public lecture at the University of Nairobi from 9 a.m. this morning. Many people who are going to be speaking there, including the Honorable Justice Aaron Ringera, retired judge. He will be there. It's open to the public. So if you've got a moment and you are around the University of Nairobi, just go there. Let's have a conversation about combating corruption. So preventing and combating corruption from an African context. That's what will be happening. Now, just the same way as the Honorable Zipporah Gichana, the magistrate in the anti-corruption court at Milimani, was saying, you know, when people are taken to court, and we're talking about how much money has been lost through into this corruption scheme, And then you connect it and say, because of this, children in a certain area do not have access to safe drinking water. Because of this, a certain community that could have benefited from a water project did not benefit from a water project. Because of this, a certain community that could have benefited from a road did not benefit. Health facilities did not. Then we start connecting what corruption is actually doing more directly. So for that reason, as we think about that, also think about Saba. Kina Kagusha will take people to court. Honorable Geshana will deal and adjudicate such matters. But what can you and I do to make sure that children who today do not have access to safe drinking water can at least get access to safe drinking water? Work with Colgate and Naivas. Walk into Naivas today, buy a tube of Colgate, and some of that money will go towards sinking one of 30 water wells that Colgate has identified in various communities around the country to benefit them, to help them get some clean drinking water. Walk into Naivas, buy Colgate. That's all you need to do. And we'll be talking about the 30 communities. They've done this before, several rounds of 30 water wells. Now this is the current 30, and there'll be more 30s. Sawa. Higher. Food is important, and we keep talking about food security in the country. What are we doing? Yes, we talk about smallholder farming, large-scale farming, food reserves, national food reserves and all. What's that strategy? We are joined by the Food Security Advisor at the Office of the President, Dr. Dominic Menjo. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you.
That's a hot seat of the Situation Room. Karibu sana. Let's talk about food and what we're doing as a country. CT Muga has the day's proverb. This week's proverbs are from Sudan.
Yes, the northern part.
Khartoum, Sudan.
Khartoum, Sudan. Yes, not Juba, Sudan.
The Sudan that President Ruto was discussing yesterday in Ethiopia.
Yes,
with the eager
Sudan
leaders.
that have internal conflict that is literally tearing the country apart.
Right.
Yes. If telling the truth does not save you, lying will not.
If telling the truth does not save you, lying will not. Dr. Menjo, when you hear this proverb from Sudan, what do you make of it? How do you interpret it?
Of course, it's that finally the truth prevails, whatever the circumstances. So you may buy time by lying, but ultimately the truth will come out.
The truth will come out.
Yeah.
You can try masking it, call it this and the other, but nothing.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell us about yourself. What does one need to do to become the food security advisor? This basically you're advising the entire country on what we need to do to be food sustainable. Introduce us to Dr. Dominic Menjo.
Okay. I'm Dominic Menjo, as stated. I'm a food security advisor in the Office of the President. I've been in the sector literally all of my career, and in all my education life. It's been all around agriculture and food security. And basically worked in a number of institutions that are related to food. Of course, my degrees are all in animal science. I'm an animal genetist. That's my background. But I left into project management quite early. I worked on a Bill and Melinda Gates program, on a dairy program that covered Kenya, Uganda, and Rwanda. And was a senior technical advisor on issues livestock then. I also worked with Trocare, which was a food relief organization. Later I joined New KCC as the chief manager, milk procurement. And the last 5 years I've been working in food security in the Office of the Deputy President before I joined the current position as a food security advisor in the Office of the President again.
When you talk about food security, Dr. Menjo, you know there are people who may have different interpretations. What is the meaning of food security?
Food security is more around making sure that our population has enough in quantity and quality of available food items, and have a plan on how to access it at affordable costs. So it must be available, it must be quality, and it must be accessible and affordable. Yes. So
okay,
yeah,
it's important that we talk about all those terms. I mean, quantity, quality must be available and must be accessible.
Yeah,
and affordable.
Yeah.
All right. So we have a food and nutrition security policy.
Correct.
Right, and it talks about having all these things. Are we food secure as a country?
At the moment, no. And not just at the moment. It's been coming for some time. The model we ran in agriculture worked with the existing population and the 20% originally arable land. And as the arable land decreased due to climate change, desertification moved from originally 20% to 17% in the mid-90s, and now moved to 15% due to real estate and land fragmentation. While our population has been literally tripling. In the 70s, we had 14 million. That grew to 30. Now we are at 50. And at 50, we are really struggling. The model that worked all those years seems no longer to be working. And because 75% of our population now, of the 50 million, are below 35, that means we might hit 100 million by 2050, meaning that things have to completely change.
And because of urbanization, the 15% arable land is at risk of even reducing.
Could get even worse, yes.
Can we take a step back? When you talk about 15% arable land, essentially what you're saying is that only 15% of the land in Kenya can be used for farming and agricultural use.
Correct. That was based on land suitability and brain availability.
Okay.
It was mainly driven by soil fertility and, of course, things like temperatures and also basically the access of that land. But basically that was purely relying on rain-fed agriculture.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for the 50 million people that Kenya currently has, what percentage of the land would you need to be arable to feed Kenya? Not even talking about export or surplus or anything like that. What would we need to feed Kenya's 50 million from the land?
I would want to say that even with the current 15%, it's still achievable.
Okay.
Up to 100 million. Because the productivity has really gone down in most agriculture value chains.
Okay.
And for long, I think we left agriculture to the farmer. The best we did with them was to try and train them, and hope that somehow they will access inputs, they will access mechanization, they will access water, irrigation. And therefore, what has happened is that the new generation of farmers, who are now not the traditional farmers, they are mainly retired civil servants and people at that level, are starting to be entrepreneurs. And they are looking again at how they are using their resource.
Okay.
And because of that, and then some have stopped for those value chains that are not profitable.
Yeah.
And because they are no longer relying on farming as a livelihood, the productivity has really gone down. So we just need to really relook at what we are doing with the existing resource. But I believe with this 15%, we can literally feed our people up to, and of course now expand through irrigation.
let's go a little bit deeper here.
Yeah.
So let's say the 15% is what we have, is what Kenya has. We're not even going to say, take down buildings or anything. With this 15%, you can feed Kenya up to 100 million people.
Yeah.
And probably have surplus.
Yes.
Right?
Correct.
And this is across board in terms of crops, not just the proverbial maize that we speak of. This is across board, isn't it?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it includes animal agriculture.
The total requirement, yeah.
Okay. Now, what would need to be done? Because we speak of the drop in production, allowing farmers to, do this alone without having a targeted mechanism from an overall body to make sure that this 15% is being used for maximum yield and maximum output. What would need to be done? Because we started off this conversation saying Kenya is not food secure. This is what food security means. Kenya has not attained that. But we've also said that Kenya has the resources to do it. So what needs to be done to get Kenya from the place that it is currently, using the resources that are available, to the place where we can now be happy when you say Kenya is food secure?
There needs to be a complete paradigm shift in the way we look at who farms, who fast the farmer is. We need to be very sure that we are no longer dealing with the original farmer in the 70s. Because one of the things that happened in those parents told their children, you don't work hard in school,
you'll be like me.
You'll be like me. So everybody worked hard and left the farm. And by default, they ended up owning the same farm, but now not as a main source of livelihood. And so what has happened is that first we need to be very sure who the farmer is, because majority of the people we call farmers and we rely on them are no longer farmers. Actually, 80% of our farmers are telephone farmers.
They're just landowners.
They are resource owners. Okay. They are literally investors. So we need to work with them to support them to utilize the resource they have to maximize the production in a very targeted way. We use the demand-driven approach of determining what we need. For example, in maize, our per capita consumption is 0.73 of a bag. That is of as an average figure. Using our current population, we would need about 44 million bags just for human consumption. But we also need about a 4% which goes to livestock use. We also need about 1% that goes to industrial use. And then we have some 2% that normally goes to strategic food reserve, just in case weather doesn't work. That ideally should be cascaded to, because the agriculture is devolved, is cascaded to the counties. Like now we know 14 counties contribute 86% of the maize. Of the maize production. 86%, 14 counties. This is where if you noticed, we focused the fertilizer there. We realized that their current production is we've produced last year 36 million bags, and the average production per acre was 8 bags. And just these are areas that have produced up to 30 bags per acre.
Previously?
Yes, previously. So what's the issue? The issue is first, access to inputs. And then number 2, access to husbandry practices. Of course, the weather has also contributed. The change in climate has also contributed. So how do we target these 14 counties to make sure that they feed the rest of the country? The other counties will produce maize, but it's just enough for the family and maybe the neighbors. But we are looking at this one that will feed the people in Nairobi. There's 6 or 7 million people in Nairobi that are not farming. The people in Wajir that don't produce maize and so on. So you do a very targeted approach. So you cascade the 61 million bags that we need this year to the counties depending on their performance. Ideally, that is the CEC, the county agriculture minister in the county, is given as a target. And he'll also cascade it now to a model we are calling the word cooperative. Our farmers, 95% of our production is done by smallholder farmers. And smallholder farmers with the acreages they have cannot have scale if they are not in a cooperative. So the idea is to organize farmers at that level, to enable them to come together so that they can access inputs, they can access husbandry practices together, and they can be supported to now produce. So that cascading, the cooperative cascades it now to the farmer, who works with the technical person to ensure that they produce the amount they're looking for.
What's the average size of acreage that a smallholder farmer in these counties will put maize, will put under
In the
maize?
14 counties, the average acreage is about 3.
So it's 3 acres of maize.
Yes, it's 3 acres of land, not of maize.
Okay.
So
how much of that 3 acres do they put maize?
His average is 1.
So about an acre.
Yeah.
Of just 1 acre maize.
Yes.
So you need basically to, like you said, cooperatives to aggregate. So then you can have 1,000 farmers, that's 1,000 acres.
Yes.
Then that brings in the economies of scale.
Yes.
Is it possible to organize farmers this way? How easy is it?
It's the aspect of cooperative is not new. We've been trying it for many years. Only that there's been a lot of challenges along the way. Again, we discovered that the model of the cooperative we've been running in agriculture has not been right, in the sense that we run a single value chain cooperative. Then it becomes seasonal.
So like it's a maize cooperative.
It's a maize cooperative.
It's not a farmer's cooperative.
It runs for 4 months or 2 months when the maize harvesting is on.
Yeah.
Then it's dormant for 10 months. Then you have a coffee cooperative. But yet our farmer is an integrated farmer. They do both dairy. A dairy farmer will also do coffee.
Yeah.
They will also do poultry. So what happens is that because of running single value chain cooperative, we've ended up with very seasonal cooperatives, but the leadership have to maintain the staff and everybody for 1 year on the amount they got in 2 months. So by pushing them now to go multi-value chain cooperative means that when coffee is not active, dairy is active. When dairy is not active, poultry is active. So you'll get an all-round. And this now helps us to now bring products like medical covers, which ideally, if they were running on one value chain, they would just pay for 1 month and then it's done.
Yeah.
So we are using a very targeted approach that starts from the demand, going all the way to the farmer.
When we talk of food security, what would it look like? What would need to happen in Kenya for us to say, bless you, that we are food secure?
Okay. Food secure ideally is to make sure that, as I indicated earlier, that we need to have all the food items in quantity and in nutritious, in balanced nutrition and affordable. I think I indicated that quite early. That for us to say we have that, then we need to have a plan, a very clear plan that ensures that this happens. That whatever we are targeting to produce, what we call now the food items that we need are available in right quantities, right nutrition, and affordable to the citizen, and that every Kenyan has access to that food, and not just the areas producing.
Now you mentioned a good word, a plan policy. I don't doubt that there is a policy, but the nutrition you speak of involves a variety of foods. Okay, now for it to be a policy that the citizenry can benefit from, we are saying there has to be adequate production. Now, most of our farmers arguably are subsistence or small-scale farmers. Do we have enough land to actually get the huge productions that we see in countries that we know are food secure, where food production. Yes, you may have your subsistence farming, but you know that in this area we purpose to produce, whether it's one type of grain or we purpose to have dairy farming, but the scale is such that it will enable to meet the needs of the country. If indeed we have such plans, what prevents us from actually seeing it being actualized?
Okay. Let me put it this way, that for long, I'll repeat this, we left this to the farmer alone. How the farmer utilized his resource. They woke up in the morning and decided what to do with it. They wake up in the morning and plant maize or plant...
Whatever
it was not guided. It was not guided. It was not structured. What we are trying to do now in the current government is through the cooperative to structure that, working with the technical advisors, the extension team, to make sure that we know exactly what's going on in the farm. Supporting the farmer to utilize the existing resources, because we can't get this land, the way we wanted. We go to Gulana Kulalu and do the mass production. We might have a bit of that. We might have a bit of government land that has been lying idle, which we are now tapping into to produce. But remember that the 90% of the land is owned by the smallholder and has been split into the 1 acre. So we have to utilize it as it is, but now using the cooperative model, where now we are using the cooperative and as an off-taker, but supporting also the farmer in production, but supporting them with inputs and supporting them with technical support. Previously, we just trained them and hoped they would somehow do it. So that's the difference in what we are doing.
You see, I think I see what you're saying in terms of we need to aggregate.
Yes.
Because that's a fact. We are smallholder farmers. We own small pieces of land. Each of us is growing nyanya here, onions there, maize there, sukuma wiki at the back, and we have 2 cows and a few sheep and some chicken in a coop. And we basically now just run it like that. Now, for us to aggregate, you need to convince me and my neighbor and the other neighbors and all the neighbors to come together into this cooperative, and for this cooperative to make sense. Now, that brings in the politics of cooperatives. We have seen them in the other bigger cooperatives, whether it's in the tea, in coffee. We've seen the politics. How do you intend to cascade it down, like you're saying, and actually convince farmers to come into these big cooperatives that will make sense for more than one value chain? And how does the management of the cooperative then work with the experts, the technical experts, to actually identify those value chains and convince everybody, people, let's go, let's do chicken, let's do maize, let's do tomatoes?
Thank you. I think basically, and this is already happening. You find there's a farmer already doing poultry. The value chains are already sort of identified on their own. When you go to a region, organically, you will find that, but these farmers are struggling. They are doing it on their own. They are not getting any support financially or any inputs or any. So what we are doing is rearranging the system. They are already in cooperatives.
Okay.
If you go to almost every ward, you will find 3 to 4 cooperatives. But you will find the same farmer in several cooperatives. One is in for maize, he is in a maize cooperative. For milk, he is in a dairy cooperative. So he is in several cooperatives. And unfortunately, it also leads to lack of financial access in this way. The only money that is reflected in the account is, if he's in a dairy cooperative, is the dairy one. But the maize, because it's sold through a broker, it's never reflected in his account. Avocado, the same. And all the others. So what happens when you do credit score on the farmer, when you're trying to access them some loan, you can only use the money, the milk one. So what we are saying is this is already existing. It's about reorganizing them and supporting them to increase productivity, because when they increase productivity, of course, it comes with income. And sell these together, because one of the other challenges we are getting in agriculture is the market failure, system failure. And the main reason in agriculture is because we really don't know what's going on in the farm until the product appears in the market.
Let me ask this question. There used to be an organization. I grew up. Yes?
Can we take a break and then you ask that question after the break?
I think we should take a break.
Okay.
Yes.
27 minutes to 9. Dr. Dominic Menjo is the President's Food Security Advisor. He's here in the studio this morning. We're talking about food security and asking ourselves, are the various formulas that are being deployed by the government working, and how are they working? How are they meant to work? That's a conversation. Keep it here for that as we come back. Faithless is a new show on Showmax. New episode is coming on Thursday. CT watched the first episode last week on Thursday. Yeah? And you were basically...
I was enthralled, actually.
Very good. That's the word.
That's what you're looking for? Okay.
No, I was looking for you. I was waiting for you to use your own word.
Oh, my own word?
You were enthralled.
Yes, I was.
Okay.
Meaning the entire thing was riveting. I'd used that phrase earlier on. You watch and you want to continue watching. It grips you. Because you're wondering, okay, now what happens next? How are they going to do? Anytime you have a suspense-filled movie that has a moral dilemma as one of the themes, it's fascinating to observe how it unfolds.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you said the quality is way up
the
there.
acting is excellent.
Acting good. Production very good.
It's actually really very good.
Very good.
Yes.
Very good. One of those Showmax originals. Showmax has basically been doing a couple of originals all the way from scripting to the end, designed and working closely with the Showmax team. Showmax originals, Faithless. New episode comes out on Thursday. Subscribe, showmax.com.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Yolanda Mulo and DJ Absolute. When the gang is together, you know it's
sugar and spice.
Great vibes, conversations, a lot of humor. I like to say we don't give an F, we give 3 Fs.
You and I are in this relationship, so it is me to tell you who we are.
When you ask a chick, how many guys have you been in? She's like, including you. If it's fun, it's funky, it's fresh, you're definitely going to catch it here. I don't know what you do every day from 11 a.m. to 3 o'clock. If I were you, I'd tune in to Spice FM 94.4.
I want you on my team. So does everybody else.
Yeah. 16 degrees and sunny conditions in Nairobi, highs of 25 and lows of 12 today, getting just a little bit warmer in the capital. It's 16 and sunny in Nakuru, highs of 27, and we'll see highs of 24 in a sunny Nyeri at 15. It's 14 and sunny in Eldoret, highs of 24 and lows of 12. Sunny conditions in Mombasa at 25, highs of 29, and we'll see highs of 29 in a sunny Malindi at 26. It's 22 and sunny in Kisumu and 22 and sunny in Kakamega, going to highs of 29. Looking into Kampala, sunny at 20, highs of 29, and Dar es Salaam is sunny at 25, going to highs of 31 and lows of 23. It's 1 degree and sunny in Johannesburg, going to highs of 13, and we'll see mostly clear conditions in Lagos at 25. It's 20 and sunny in Kinshasa, we'll see highs of 32 and lows of 20.
Welcome to Spice FM, the best exclusive radio station bringing you the best mix of the best music ever.
All right, taking around the traffic on Cambu Road today, heavy as you're getting towards Muthaiga Square. It's teeter-tottering on almost done on the Thika Superhighway. The CBD is where the most of the action is happening today. Lunga is also pretty busy, and it's going to spill over to the Likoni interchange. So there's inbound traffic there. Raila Odinga Way is busy, Langata Road is busier, and onto Huru Highway, everybody trying to get into the city will have to contend with oncoming traffic. Let's see at 9 and see how that changes. Talk to us in the meantime on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
22 minutes to 9. The conversation continues with the President's Food Security Advisor, Dr. Dominic Menjo. City.
Once upon a time, there was an organization called Kenya Farmers Association. Mm-hmm. It morphed and became KGGCU. Now, my understanding of it is this support system you speak of, this organization played a role. Now, with hindsight, Was it effective? Did it serve the purpose that it was created for? And if so, do we have an equivalent in the offing? Are we thinking of reviving it? Are we thinking, what is it that we are doing to structure this support that you are speaking of?
Thank you. You're very right. KFA was very, very important. And actually, it really organized the agriculture sector. Farmers would get input on time.
Yes.
They would also get markets.
Yes.
Very comfortably. Yes, we are trying to restructure such a system, but now using the cooperative. But we are working at the ward level to ensure that through the ward level, because we're trying to do all the ward to be the economic unit, not just in agriculture, even in all the other aspects, housing, MSME, digital economy, creative economy, because that's the basic unit that we have now. So
the ward.
Yeah, as a ward. And the reason why we are talking about a ward cooperative is to also access scale. Because what's happening is we have a lot of briefcase cooperatives that are led by people with their own small agendas. So we're trying to bring everybody together and say, if you can come together, as a cooperative, you can negotiate for those inputs that KFA used to negotiate for. You see, like now, fertilizer, the cost of fertilizer before we did bulk buying as government was 7,000. But through bulk buying, we were able to negotiate it down to 4,500. The government only subsidized 1,000, about 1,200. These can be done by a cooperative. It doesn't have to be done by the government. The government was just doing the disruption to make sure the system come back to normal. But cooperative should be playing that role, and that was the role KFA was playing. Also access to inputs, mechanization. You remember they used to have mechanization centers?
Yep. They did.
So that's what we are also trying to bring back. So that we have mechanization center and the farmer will access the mechanical service, whether it's tractor plowing or harvesting, and get it in time. Because one of the biggest challenge we have in agriculture productivity is because we are still rain-fed, season is very critical. If you don't prepare your land on time, you lose a certain percentage of your harvest. So there are these things that were done then that ensured productivity went to the 30 bags per acre. We can't achieve that until we reorganize the production, but at the same time, organize the market. As I mentioned earlier, market failure is one of our biggest challenges in agriculture, in the sense that we really don't know what's coming to the market. And since agriculture produce are perishable, they create a crisis. They arrive in the market and they need to be off in the next 2 days. Sometimes we try to do preservation, but you can't do preservation. But with organized production, it's easy to start planning for the market in advance.
Right.
Will this thinking and this planning also cover will it also cover the blue economy?
Exactly. It's exactly the same model. Because our key areas is in all these blue economy, livestock, crops, is on 3. Organize the farmers, access them finances. That's why we're putting a circle in every ward to make sure that payment is done within the ward. Then enhance on productivity, where productivity is required. So we are not looking even of expanding. We are saying whatever you have that cow that's giving you 3 liters and has the genetics of 15. Let's push that 15 first before saying increase the number of cows. Okay? So it's increasing production, increasing productivity, then reduce post-harvest losses.
Okay.
Because we have value chains that we lose up to 40% of the post-harvest of loss after harvesting, like fruits, the mangoes, the avocados. They come in a glut, and we lose 40% of that.
Yeah.
Then, of course, then value addition. We make sure that even in what we're exporting, we get maximum value on what we are even exporting. At the moment, like tea, we are only getting 40% of its value.
So,
things like, yeah.
Okay.
How soon before we start seeing these things? The number one thing of organizing farmers, you're saying, go to the ward level and see if you can organize the farmers to be members of one ward circle. There are already several circles in the ward level.
Correct.
Are you asking them to fold up and join one, or are you asking them to become corporate members of one giant circle? You see, like Azimio?
Yes.
Corporate political party membership.
Yeah.
Because why do I need to fold up my circle if it's been working for me?
Okay.
And all you want is for that to use that giant circle for benefits of scaling and everything.
Okay. We started this journey about somewhere in January. Actually, January, yes, where we engage the counties, because as I said, this happens in the counties. So we engage the CECs of each county, 47, just to sell the model to them. And after that, we again engage them at a cluster level, where we're engaging them with a little more of their staff to see how it works. Then we engage some of the counties now directly. Now, for those who quickly say, we think we like this and we are ready for this, we moved with them. I'll give you an example of Busia.
Okay.
After engaging this, the governor said, I think I want to do this. I want to take leadership in this. So he organized the farmers into ward cooperatives. How he did that was they identified the best of the cooperatives, the one that is best run. As I say, there are a lot of briefcase cooperatives. So you don't want to interfere with them. You will not tell them fold, but you will want to support one that ensures that it is strengthened, because it's doing the right thing, it has the right structures, and others will come in as departments.
Okay.
So within that area, that is, for example, in Busia, we used cotton to organize the farmers. But they also have palm oil, they also have rice, they also have simsim. Of course, they also had their food crops. But we use cotton because for us it was the most immediate need. Cotton, it's a very costly. We are importing a lot. 85% of the cotton lint we use. We are also importing cotton seed cake worth 7 billion. So we thought we need to start work on this area to make sure that we bring it down. So I can tell you, we've engaged all the 47 counties on this model. We are currently working with 7 that are already adopted this, and they are working
and they
on
have the
different
world
value chains,
cooperatives
and
working.
they have the world cooperatives that are starting to work. You know, it's a journey.
If I went to Busia and I spoke to any of these farmers, what benefit would they be speaking of 5 months, 6 months after this initiative started? Will they be saying that they now have access to cheaper farm inputs? Will they be saying that they now get regular extension services provided? What benefits should they be reaping by now?
Okay, as I said, it's a journey. The 5 months we did was first to sensitize, grow, develop until we reach the structures, which happened this month. Because the first thing we did was to know the farmer. So all farmers have been registered. As we talk, we've registered all the farmers and all their value chains. We know them. Number 2, the extension team that belong to the county have been changed into the ward. They are now managing areas rather than training farmers. Number 3, we have accessed them now the fertilizer, subsidized fertilizer, to plant the cotton. Number 4, we've accessed them seed. That's what. So they're going to plant in the next 1 week or 2, because all that has been happening now in the last 1 month. So these are the things if you access them. And, we had to engage all the way to the MCS, because the MCS also had to buy in because it's their area. And, our plan ultimately, cotton, of course, is the lead value chain. but we'll also follow on palm. We're already now engaging with the Calro to supply more seeds because they had palm trees that were not being used because they didn't have a factory to press.
In Busia.
In Busia.
Right.
They didn't have, they had this ginnery that was not in use. They had, so we are working on now each value chain, but together with that now is we are bringing in now the SACCOs. That's the next step now. The SACCO will ensure that in that remote ward, that the payment, currently, even when you're in a cooperative, you open an account and probably the bank is in town, in Busia town. But you are in a very rural, remote ward, down somewhere. And what would happen is that you come and pick your money in town and you spend about 80% of it in town. So the rural setup remains that same way. So for us, we're putting a SACCO so that the payment, you'd find that ward is generating about 20 million shillings every month.
But the money goes to
But the money is never seen. So what we are saying is all that money will be paid through the SACCO. Then, of course, using now, they'll be able to buy things in the local shop. The butchery around there will now thrive. The tailor there will work. And this is now the whole essence of the bottom-up, making sure that we are reaching the lowest of the people.
I have to ask, there's also been a conversation about the diversity of food sources. Even as we talk about this, of course, maize being the staple for Kenya today, but then also looking at times where harvests, I don't want to say fail, but don't do as well as they normally would. Taking all these things into consideration, of course, then we would understand that the push or the end goal is to make sure that harvests do well. But what about the diversification of food crops, going beyond your normal maize and looking into other sources of sustenance?
Okay.
Are there plans for that?
Yeah. In fact, we really link this to the universal healthcare program that we are generating. I think you've heard that the government is hiring or is going to work with about 110,000 frontline health workers. And one of their role is to look at the food systems at each family. They'll be visiting each homestead once a month. And the whole agenda is to look at that kitchen garden and say what other foods can run to ensure nutrition. Because you would find most of these are farmers. And they have some small plot, but they're never utilizing it properly. So this is the linkage. And many of the diseases now that we are facing are also nutrition diseases and food style diseases.
So essentially you are reviving the agricultural extension officer role.
Yes, not now as an extension of, it was, you remember the original model was train and visit.
Yeah.
That was the one that worked.
Yes.
These are the one on demand-driven extension that failed, and it failed because
you only call him because you think you need AI services.
Yes. Or it didn't work. Now we are reviving that, but using now a different model. Remember the old model was government was to employ.
But let me ask, why didn't it work?
It didn't work because of several factors. As you say, first of all, we stopped employing. Sometimes back. The last time there was a mass employment on agriculture extension team was 1989.
89.
Yes. So on average, we graduate about 12,000 every year. So we have about 330,000. But the thinking then was that these people will be employed. They'll be absorbed either by the national government or now the county, which has not worked. Because I think the wage bills in all of them are also very high. So nobody is actually employing. But looking at examples that we've learned from other companies, exporters, for example, they run the same train and visit model, but they factor the cost within the cost of production, within the value chain to absorb. That's the model we are also absorbing, to work with the cooperatives to ensure that through the value chains that are sold through the cooperative, that percentage that is normally for technical support is used to bring in these young 330,000 to come and support the farmer to produce. That's the model that we are trying to roll out. And of course incubate it for initial 1 year as the cooperatives are being formed. But combining these with now the health workers, we realize down there are quite a number of workers at the ward level from different institutions. Of course, county leading. You will find development partners also are doing some things there. NGOs are also doing some things there. When put together, we find if they work in synergy, we have an enough population to trigger this process. So all we need to do is organize them and structure them so that they both deliver together and synergize on their various objectives. So basically that is what we are working on to make sure that the farmers are accessing extension or what we would call technical support. Yeah.
One would assume the conversation is happening already, rumblings of such, so that folks essentially will know, and not to make it sound negative, but folks essentially are being corralled into a particular way of operation different from what they've been used to for years, right?
Correct.
And so they say, in order to get maximum benefit, let's do things differently and let's do them this way. But the thing is that you can force a horse to water, you can lead it to water, but you cannot make it drink. Is there an appetite to see this new and improved way of doing things to achieve maximum output? Is it welcomed? Because one would say if it's welcomed and people are willing to do this, then half the work is already done.
Correct.
Is that the case?
Yes, and that is why if you look at the counties we engaged first are those that said we are willing to do this. Then we work with them to demonstrate to the others that it can be done and it can change people's lives. You don't force everybody. Agriculture is a devolved. So you engage those that are ready to go that route. Use it to showcase, because, as I said, the agenda is much bigger than agriculture. It's much bigger than food security. We are linking this to the housing project, as I said, where land fragmentation is one of our biggest challenges in agriculture. We are all building horizontally instead of building up. So we are using the land that we would use for food. We are exhausting it, literally. And we are saying, if we can demonstrate that there's enough revenue running within the word cooperative, that a PPP, an investor, can come in and set up a settlement or flats around that area, that you can tell a youth, because now youth will tell you, I want my piece to build. Then they struggle to build a furnace structure. Then they struggle to bring water. They struggle to bring electricity. But if you tell them, go to this one, it has water.
Go to the center.
It's a 3-bedroom. It is water. It has free Wi-Fi. The digitization process. And all that. Then the youth will automatically, but you'll now...
And you still have your...
You still have your land.
Piece of land.
Yes, you still have it as your share. And therefore your share will be the earning from that particular... And this now relates the youth to agriculture, because our current challenge is the average age of our farmer is 61 years. And everybody retires into farming.
But if you look at the average youth, young person who wants to get into farming, already is in farming and doesn't maybe have all the tools that they need digitally or otherwise. Now, coming from a point of leadership from government, is the requisite infrastructure available to make this happen? Explain. Let's take the 47 counties and say that there's enough representation of young people who want to get into some kind of agriculture. Because the minute we hear agriculture, we assume that there's a farm and there's a cow and there's something, without realizing that it could be different. It could be fish ponds. It could be somebody having a grain shop. It could be somebody who is investing in feeds or whatever. But then to say, if we're trying to have all of this work in the same space, is the infrastructure for knowledge and delivery of advice and information available so that if you give that information and Youth CT says today, I want to be able to get into this, can I go to point X and get the information that I need to then proceed?
Yeah, I think we need to understand the context of our youth based on agriculture. You need to understand our youth. the current status is there are guys who look at the bottom line. If it doesn't make sense, they won't touch it. It's not profitable. They won't touch it. Forget it. That's one. And they want money today.
Yes.
They don't want to wait.
No.
So we have to come up with a model that attracts that. And that is why the first step is bringing them through the technical support component. About 80% of the 300,000 are still youth. And they will be working with the farmers on their resources. So that's the first step. We have a group of agripreneurs. You'll find these youth who are doing manual jobs, but the hard way. They do the weeding, but using the hoe. But yet we know we have mechanized, system. You can get them the mechanized weeding machines. So organize them into MSMEs, small groups, and let them access finances to do what? To buy those either motorized sprayers or to make it, to make agriculture, they
more
start
efficient.
feeling like, that's another generation of group. There'll be another level who will be working at the value addition level. There'll be another level who will be working. So basically, we've been trying to get to the youth the wrong way. We've been trying to get them to go and do the primary farming, which at the moment is not profitable, and therefore nobody is getting there.
Forget every other step in the value chain.
Yes, all the other sections that they can come in, but later because when they turn these into profitable enterprise, they will themselves start saying, then I think I should also be doing this. If
Dr.
I'm making this farmer to earn, I can also earn.
Let's continue the conversation after the news. And also, you are an expert in animal husbandry. We still haven't even talked about livestock and what we do then with the 85% of the semi-arid lands. Okay? Keep it here. The President's Food Security Advisor, Dr. Dominic Menjo, is our guest this morning. We'll open up the phone lines in the next hour, 9 a.m.
Stay orders against the act. Judge Muga instead referred the matter to Chief Justice Martha Koome, who is now expected to form a 3-judge bench to hear the matter. In the petition, Busia Senator Kiom Tata and lawyer Tienda Molo challenging the legality of the suspended Finance Act. They argue that the state will suffer no harm if the orders are extended. Now, 6 people were killed and others injured, including security officers, during the Saba Saba Day protest Friday. Interior CS Kithure Kindiki, while acknowledging that the Constitution guarantees the freedom of association and the right to demonstrate, it does include the right to cause mayhem and loot property. Kindiki further said that he has given security officers instructions to deal with those disrupting peace, destroying property and injuring people tomorrow. This as Azimio leader Raila Odinga has maintained that tomorrow's demonstrations are on and that no intimidation will deter Kenyans from demanding that their voices be heard. This as opposition leader Raila Odinga has maintained that tomorrow's demonstrations will go on uninterrupted. And retired President Uhuru Kenyatta suffered a blow after the political parties disputes tribunal upheld the appointment of the East African Legislative Assembly Member of Parliament Kanini Kega as the substantive Jubilee Party Secretary General. The tribunal's ruling will now see the Kega-led faction take over the control of the party. Kega and his team on May 19 subsequently resolved to expel Kioni and Vice Chair David Murathe from the party. Kioni, Murage and Kagwe Gishohi on May 25th lodged an appeal seeking stay orders for the changes in party leadership. In recent months, the two factions engaged in a fierce struggle over the leadership of the party. And the exhumation exercise of bodies at Shakahola forest continues today. This after 12 more bodies were exhumed, raising the death toll to 350. The exercise is on its 4th phase, with Interior CS Kithure Kindiki saying that they had discovered 40 more mass graves. The CS further condemned religious leaders who were radicalizing Kenyans, saying the government is on their radar. Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja says the construction of the 10 central kitchens, that is Deshina County, is progressing quite well. According to the governor, the kitchens would be constructed in 10 schools in 10 weeks. It will cost 5 shillings for school children in public schools and ECDEs within Nairobi to get free meals. The program targets to feed 250,000 children in Nairobi enrolled in public primary schools and public ECDE centers. Now, the Court of Appeal has declined to suspend the removal of the Director General of the Kenya Rural Roads Authority, Philemon Kiprop Kandia, pending the determination of an appeal filed by the agency. Kandia was removed from his position in late May after Employment and Labour Relations Court Judge James Rika ruled that the process was marred by irregularities and procedural impropriety. Kera Board Chairperson Oyu Kombeche had sought the suspension of the OSTA pending the determination of an appeal he has filed. It was his argument that the position might be filled, yet Kandia was never given a chance to give his side of the story. A bench of 3 judges, however, said nothing stops Kandia from applying for the position if it is advertised, and that if the agency feels that its operations will be impeded due to lack of a holder of the office, nothing prevents it from starting a fresh recruitment process. Now, President William Ruto is expected to meet with the Iranian president, who will be paying him a courtesy call at the State House in Nairobi. The two leaders of states are expected to discuss matters of mutual interest and bilateral relations. Meanwhile, parties to the Sudan conflict have been asked to declare an unconditional ceasefire. Speaking during the IGAD Quartet Heads of State and Government meeting, President Ruto said Sudan Armed Forces and the Rapid Support Forces must also agree to establish a humanitarian zone. He said the move will stop the loss of lives, ease access to public services, and facilitate a settlement of the conflict. Tomato Sports and AFC Leopards head coach Patrick Osims has announced he won't be extending his contract with the 12-time Kenya Premier League champions. On his tweet, Osims cited personal reasons for not extending his stay at the Den. The outspoken Belgian guided AFC Leopards to a 7th place finish in the ended campaign, amassing 51 points. Ingwe will now be forced to hunt for a new coach ahead of the 2023-2024 season. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
We're looking at the Thika Superhighway, still with a little bit of traffic. A smidgen of it as you're getting out towards the Pangani underpass. So this is doable. We'll be able to get off that quickly. Look at Landis. Landis is pretty busy as you're getting off of Jogo Road. There's also traffic incoming from Lusaka. Everybody heading out into the CBD. So that smidgen of traffic on the Thika Superhighway is actually more than that. And on Kiambu Road still continues. James Gishoro got busier over the hour and spilling over towards Wayaki Way this morning. Dennis Pritt out towards Kileleshwa and then through to James Gishoro. We're also looking at some traffic coming in from Chiromo. So if you're heading into that area, you might want to go the long way and avoid that traffic inbound. On Limuru Road, it's heavy as you're coming in to the hospital past Muthaiga. Everybody heading towards Muthaiga Square at this point. Let's look out for those. And also on North Airport Road, traffic is dwindling, but we see that still clogged up just a bit as you touch on Outer Ring. Let's talk in half an hour or so and see how that has all changed. Spice of MKE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start
the final hour of the show today. And we are still asking you to please help us, help Colgate, working with Naivas to spread a smile across the country. 150,000 people set to benefit from 30 water wells that are being sunk by Colgate across the country. And all you need to do to support them in this is walk into Naivas or log on to the Naivas e-commerce portal and shop. When you buy any tube of Colgate, for every tube of Colgate that you buy, part of that money will go into this project where they're sinking 30 water wells across the country to benefit communities. Put a smile on a child's face today. It's important. The President's Food Security Advisor is Dr. Dominic Menjo. He's our guest today. We are talking about food security and what the government is putting in place in terms of mikakati. Tumepanga na tunaangalia na tutafanya. This is what we are discussing. What is being pangwed? You've told us, Dr. Menjo, many things, but before we begin the hour, CT will remind us of the day's proverb, which is from Khartoum, Sudan.
Yes, it is from Khartoum, Sudan. If telling the truth does not save you, lying will not.
If telling the truth does not save you, lying will not. Sometimes, Bwana, the truth is not a good thing, Bwana.
The beauty about the truth is its consistency. Once it is spoken, if I may use it, and that's it. You don't have to think of a variation of it. The problem with a lie is half the time you don't remember what it is you said before.
You have to remember.
There's this little thing about remembering what you said.
How about you pick a lie and stick to the lie?
No matter what, you
just keep
roads.
Yes.
Believe me, the way the human mind works, you'll verify that lie. Yes, because the truth always creeps into the lie. See? You know this isn't true. To understand it, you see, when you are an adult, you actually think you can run away from it. But look at a child who has, say, for instance, taken a mandazi and put in the pocket, okay? And the oil has seeped and can show in the pocket. And they're being asked, did you take the mandazi? No.
Nope.
And why they're saying no? Because they wiped their mouth, the point of the mouth is now dry.
So you can't see.
There you can't see. But the parents look in the pocket and saying, what's in your pocket? Saying, my pocket is in my pocket.
The truth catches up.
Oh, yes.
Dr. Menjo, you were telling us about, all the plans that are there and thinking from the bottom, thinking about the individual farmer and food producer. Let me just disrupt this one. Somebody is asking, for us to be food secure, must we be producers?
Not necessarily.
Because in all those definitions, there was nothing like produce, quality, quantity, food, and make it available and accessible and affordable.
Not necessarily. I always say food security is not about production. It's about planning. It's about making sure that's available in those definitions I gave. Sometimes it's either produced, if you have the resources to produce within, or you can outsource, which many other countries do. But as a country, we really don't have resources to import because I think countries like Nigeria have a lot of oil they can afford to import. Countries like DRC Congo with all its minerals, they can afford to do a level of importation. But Kenya, we really don't have much to use to import. Our current import bill on food has risen to 200 billion.
Unsustainable.
Growing at 15%.
Unsustainable.
But actually, the analogy you've given is interesting in that insofar as we know, we could go up to South Africa and go to Botswana and say, yes, they have mineral wealth. So do we. But that's a discussion for another day.
Okay.
I actually like the analogy that we have of us being a center for commerce, being a center for economic activities. There are countries on this planet that are super wealthy simply based on that. No mineral resource to speak of in large volumes. Agriculture, we say, is a devolved function. My concern is, have the counties embraced this simple reality? Because let me ask a different question. Is there any county that doesn't have an agricultural department or ministry?
No.
Okay.
All have.
Precisely. Now, so what do they do? Because I would assume that they would be in tune with the agricultural need. Now, agriculture here now, I'm not just referring to crop management. I'm talking about animal. I'm talking about counties that are near some water body. Do we see any activity that lends itself to the counties, forget government intervention, understanding the role that they have with regards to this devolved function?
True. Agriculture is devolved, and ideally every county tries to do what they are able to do, based on their own assessment and their own resource availability. But if not coordinated, actually would end up with each county, even sometimes, if you remember when some counties in the North Rift decided that we're no longer going to produce maize, we're going to go into high value, which is correct, which is very right, because they want to earn more. But you see, what was happening is that when they dropped to the maize, that's why we are in the current situation, where they say, no, the maize, I'll just produce to take care of my family. But yet, the biggest potential for producing maize was in that region. And so I'm trying to bring this example. Yes, they are doing the agriculture bit. They have their key value chains. They are being supported by several development partners, including national government. But it's not been coordinated in such a way that it leads to the government, to the national requirements, and especially on food security. And that's the role why we said national government would remain with policy, so that they guide and engage the counties to ensure that whatever is happening in the counties is aligned to the national policies and are also aligned to the needs of the country. So at the moment, at some point we lost it. At some point everybody did their own thing.
Why did we lose it?
There was this assumption by, again, the counties that now you are independent, and everybody wanted to do their own thing. And it took quite a bit of time for people to realize the relationship between all the other counties with each other, and realize that if Uasin Gishu doesn't produce maize, Machakos people will starve in Machakos. Yet Machakos, who are producing mangoes, if they also don't do their bit, we don't get foreign income. There are those relationships that was not in. But now, I'm happy to say that in this year, we are seeing a lot of that. That's why there is coordination at the in governors level. They even have a committee on agriculture that works very closely with the national government. We have two organizations. We have JASCOM. JASCOM is one of the institutions that ensures that there's coordination between national and county government. And the leadership, even within the CECs of agriculture, they have even their caucus where they sit together to discuss also with national government. So this is now already happening. It took a bit of time to get there. Maybe because everybody went territorial initially. Everybody went and said, no, this is my territory.
I get a sense, though, that it goes beyond that into the individual politicians who became governors, and the individual politicians at the national level who are president, who are CS for agriculture, who are PSS, right?
Yeah.
And you are an expert in agriculture. I mean, you studied in this field, you've practiced in this field, you've seen it. Do you get a sense of what I'm saying, where politics really hampers what the technical experts say about our food security in our agricultural sector? People have gone to school to study, and therefore this is your passion. You're actually practicing it. People at the institutes where it's Calro and others are basically dedicating their day into food security and policies that would work. But the decisions, the ultimate decisions, are political decisions.
Correct.
So over time, even as we say, we have seen a reduction in arable land from 20 to 15%. This is because the politician is just looking at a short cycle.
Yep.
And they then took over agriculture and commercialized agriculture, and they just want to see immediate financial gain for individuals and losing it. How do we get all these professionals who are trained every year in agriculture, who are passionate about agriculture and food security, to actually be influential?
You're very right. I think agriculture is the most abused profession because everybody thinks they know agriculture because it's about kuchunga ng'ombe, it's about
ng'ombe too. No, education is the most abused. Everybody believes they understand and know. Yes.
Ni watoto tu.
Ni wa kwani sisi hata mimi nienda shule.
Maybe it's agriculture, then is number 2. But we feel that, and the professionals feel that. They complain about that. And the way to go around this is to make sure that we have good policy documents that are pushed through the legal systems to make sure it binds people. Because without that, then everybody does what they think is right and override professional guidance. The place of a professional is at the policy level to make sure that you are, and then you document even the processes, the SOPs, and this now locks out the non-practitioners, because when you leave it open, number 2, of course, the data system. Data speaks, and for us, it's key to know what's really going on using data, because otherwise you would have anybody throwing in a number. And our weakest point in agriculture has been data. We didn't have data. That's why the first thing the president said was, we need to register every farmer. We need to know what they are doing. We need to know their value chains. We need to work with them to see their maximum potential, which is going on. Actually, in the next 2 months, you will see there was a rollout for the subsidy program. We registered close to 4.3 million farmers. Up to now, it's ongoing, and got a lot of information. But now we are going specifically to each farm. That was done through the chiefs. The chiefs and the like. Now we're bringing in the agriculture professionals to now also build on that data to know how do we help this farmer utilize their resources to the maximum. So you need to know them.
In terms of size, then what kind of farmer are we talking about here? Because then you say, okay, well, we're going to get in touch, we're going to come door to door and visit. Who then becomes significant in this and says, we'll be part? Somebody who, like you say, you retire and then you say, I'm going to go into farming, that kind of thing. Do you then plug into this system by virtue of that fact? Do you have to have a certain, amount of acreage to then be said you will be part of this system? How exactly would it work? Your kitchen garden obviously would not count here, where you're growing food for your daily, but then if you're saying, well, I have some 5 acres that I bought over, the years of working and I'm now going to get into farming, do you plug into this system as well? How would this work?
Correct. We're starting to think, it's not really starting to think, we are forced to think of agriculture as an enterprise. And anybody who wants to practice agriculture as an enterprise at whatever level, it doesn't have to be in land. It could be, you could be having a room like this full of poultry. You are an agriculture person and you will contribute to that national target. So it's really about the will. And you being an investor, looking at yourself as an investor, either having that land resource that you need somebody to help you to make sure you maximize on its production for you to earn more, to increase your income, while at the same time serving the national interest. So this is not, it's not land, it's more any agricultural resource that you have and you want it to help you earn more. Basically, that's the direction we're heading. So it's more of an entrepreneurial approach. That's why our first engagement is on your gross margin analysis. What are you doing? How much are you making out of this? And many people are making loss. Then how do we work together to take you to profitability?
Okay, now at the ward level, what will we need to see happening in order for us to understand that this scheme has gotten traction? That's one. 2, it's sustainable, and 3, it's actually working. What needs to happen?
The first step is, of course, the ownership for us, it's the ownership by the county, where the county says, yes, I think this is right. The next thing is the county government allocating its technical staff, the extension staff, to the ward. Okay? Then number 3, the county having identified one key cooperative, that they've identified using certain parameters, that this is the cooperative we are going to work with to ensure that it is happening. That is now from one side, and identify a key value chain that you are going to work with. Then number 4 is now the setup of a SACCO, the financial component. So you have a cooperative, then you have a SACCO.
Credit.
Then the linkage to input supply, the agrovets. Because the agrovets already within the ward, but they are doing their things. They are bringing all sorts of inputs, doing all this, but they are nearer to the farmers. These are So once we have that, then we know now we can roll out any value chain, because already we have the technical team that is managing an area, we have input supply, we have financial access, then we have a cooperative that will organize the marketing of the produce, whatever the produce is at that point. So that's what we want to see. But at the end of it, we want to see this linked to now, like I mentioned, the housing, the health component, and mechanization, access to other technical services like warehousing, to make sure that when they produce, the farmer can access their money immediately through the warehouse, the receipting system. And this is ultimately linked to the industrial parks to make sure that all this is driving. So for us to say this is now running, we need to see all those things.
How many years?
Hardly half a year.
It's already been past half a year.
Okay, you know it's past half a year for us being in government.
Yes.
But remember, you just don't land. We had to do a number of things. First, we had to align the budgets. We had to align the budget.
So half a year now, you're talking about June to December, July to December.
We're talking about now our real budget, which has this component, is the one that's now starting this
July to December.
But you see, we are already ahead of in some counties on that.
You know, I'm insisting on the timing because it's everything. All right. Even when the president speaks, you are the president's advisor on food security. When he speaks and he talks about agriculture, and it's big, it's a big component, it's the strongest pillar of the Kenya Kwanza manifesto. It's a thing that he talks about all the time. The president likes to give timelines.
Correct.
And he says in 6 months' time, by the end of the year, we'll start seeing. The people who are by the end of the year implementers are Dr. Menjo and the others. So farmers, we have. We don't need to import farmers.
Yes.
Land we have.
Yes.
We don't need that.
Correct.
Farmers being organized in some form of SACCO or the other, there is some structure in place.
Correct.
That is there.
Correct.
Farmers' need and pain points are clear. Access to finance. The others, the reason why we also don't have other multiple players in this other area and you want to encourage them, what they need is affordable credit. So the thing that you need to be showing us already is that now there is affordable credit if you meet this basic criteria.
Correct.
You can afford that credit. You can play in this area.
Yes.
Are we seeing that, Dr. Menjo?
Yes, on credit. Okay. I indicated to you that the plan for the ward is on the SACCO. And we are ready to roll out that in August. We're already structuring that. Remember, you can't just put money in any other SACCO. It has to be, you have to go through the process assessment and so on.
Is there budgetary allocation for farmer finance in this?
There's a budget allocation on this current budget that has been passed.
How
Remember
much?
we working at around 5 million per ward as a government input.
It's like
but
seed.
the farm as a seed. But the other people will, of course, will add on. But we also have other development partners we are working with. But remember, we already have launched the Hustler Fund, which is accessing, part of the people accessing it are farmers, the personal one.
Yeah.
We've already launched the second one, which is the group Hustler Fund, which again is rolling in that direction. We're planning to have input supply fund that will also be running on the same digital platform. So this is the overall one for everybody in the country.
Okay.
But for every ward, we are working with a SACCO in every ward to make sure and link these now to the inputs that are coming from the ward, so that we can now start, negotiating for inputs and accessing them to the farmers. Already we've accessed the farmers the fertilizer. I think you know that, the whole country. We've also accessed them seeds, like this one for Busia. We were targeting to give them for cotton 60 tons, but we could only get about 25 tons in the country, because again of the failure of the seed system that has been going on for some time. But we have now plans to make sure that next year we can avail. We have also seed for soya that will be planted next year for close to 1 million acres to reduce the edible oil. I told you edible oil is the second largest import after petroleum in this country. So we are working on things like sunflower, soya bean, palm oil, coconut, to make sure that we bring that cost down. Because when we bring the one on edible oil, we'll definitely trigger the other one. You've seen the one for cotton. And the government prioritizes about 7 value chains.
Are we picking this thing up from, because this idea of making ourselves self-reliant in edible oils, it's a scheme that was started in the Moi era. And it was an entire group of people from the Treasury who actually sent to India to go and see how, because India turned around this process for this, and in 3 years, three years, they were able, in fact, this is a field you know better than I do. Yes. You know, it's the story of India.
Yes, I know.
And people went and studied and they came here.
Yes.
And we started setting things in motion.
Yes.
Cashew nut growing.
Yes,
Somewhere along the line, the ball was dropped.
Correct.
So are we starting afresh, or are we picking up from the lessons we learned in that endeavor to see how far we can go with it, or what are we doing?
Yes, there's a lot of lessons from that. One of the challenges we have sometimes in agriculture is our point of intervention. Sometimes we don't do an A to Z kind of analysis. So we intervene, we come with a good idea, we want to produce, like the palm oil in Busia, but we didn't have a processor. So now the palm trees are ready, but there's no so the farmers have started uprooting the palm oil again because they are not seeing the value, or they didn't have a cottage industry to do. So our approach is to do an A to Z evaluation. What are the bottlenecks, and where do we intervene, and where do the private sector come in, and do then a lot of value propositions. We do a lot of value analysis so that, like now, the one for Busia, I'll still use Busia, the palm oil. When we get I think we're getting the data today or tomorrow, we look at what amounts are there. Then we calculate backward and then visit an investor and tell him, with this volume, and we'll support you to build the volume through now planting, which will be ready in 3 years. Can you start something so that we don't waste, or the government can put some little money at a cottage level to just make sure the current farmers are not losing, even as we expand to bring in a commercial producer. So that's the thinking.
Let's take a break. 28 minutes to 10. We'll open the phone lines after this break. 0719-012-600. Engage with the President's Food Security Advisor, Dr. Dominic Menjo. He's our guest today. So very many questions as well on social media. We'll also be sampling some of them and sending them over to Dr. Menjo. Dr. Menjo, you've heard of Showmax. Have you heard of Showmax?
Yes.
Showmax has a new show called Faithless. Tell him about it.
Okay, so let me tell you the little bit of the story to entice you to now watch the next episode, and then you can catch up on the previous one, which comes out on Thursday.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
So, a lady called Esther, who's acted so well by Rosemary Waweru, she takes on the role of Esther, and with her 3 friends, they've come up on some money that was found by a child, where they were playing. They said, okay, this money, it can either cement our fortunes for the future, or we take this money as the church-going individuals that we are and go and say, look, we found money, what shall we do? So they're caught up in this dilemma. What do we do? And then Esther actually finds out that her older brother is caught in this crime, which is where this money came from, and there's somebody who's looking for him, and they want to... You can imagine how sticky it's already getting. Faithless is Showmax's latest original title. An episode is released every week. All you need to do is subscribe if you have not. Showmax.com. Pay, watch, enjoy.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It's that time again when we get to gather around and marvel at the great engineering, raw power, finesse, and sharing our round motor love for motoring at the annual Digger Motor Show 2023. From car lovers, bike enthusiasts, spare part dealers, insurance, as well as asset financiers and more, this year's Digger Motor Show will be one for the books. We're talking a whole 4-day event from Thursday 20th to Sunday 23rd at KICC Grounds, Nairobi, where we will have something for everyone, so you better not miss out. Get the family, bring your friends, and share in the joys that will give you lasting memories and an experience you're bound to not forget. For more information or participation, contact Caroline on 0723-803601 or email sinyandiaka@standardmedia.co.ke. Digger Motor Show 2023 is brought to you by Standard Group and Digger Motors and is powered by Spice FM.
Take the money. Who's gonna know? Cain won't rest until he finds you. You could run and go far away. Think about your role in the church. No one will know.
Sunny conditions in Nairobi, highs of 25 and lows of 12. We'll see highs of 27 and lows of 12 in Nakuru. 24 will be the high in Nyeri, lows of 13, and 24 will be the high in Eldoret with lows of 12. The sun is up in Mombasa as well, going to highs of 29 and lows of 24, and we'll see the same in Malindi. It's sunny at 22 in Kisumu, highs of 30 and highs of 29 in the sunny Kakamega at 20. Partly sunny conditions through Kampala, highs of 29 and lows of 17. While it's sunny in Dar es Salaam at 25, it'll go to highs of 31 and lows of 23. 1 degree, it's sunny at 1 degree in Johannesburg, highs of 13, and we'll see lows of 25 in a mostly clear Lagos. It's sunny at 20 in Kinshasa, highs of 32. 32 is what it is in Beijing, Tuesday afternoon, and lows of 25. Mostly sunny in Paris at 12, highs of 31, and London will see highs of 23 and lows of 15. It's clear in New York still. Monday night, coming into Tuesday, we'll see highs of 32 and lows of 21.
When the engine revs, will you be ready to get all that petrolhead enthusiasm at this year's annual Digger Motor Show? Well, you better belt up and make your way to KICC from the 20th to the 23rd of July 2023 for a wholesome 4-day event. Come and join car lovers, bike enthusiasts, spare part dealers, insurance, as well as asset financiers, and more for what will be an unforgettable experience by far. We are going all out to make it a great show for you and the whole family with something for everyone, so you better not miss out. For more information or participation, contact Caroline on 0723-803601 or email sinyandiaka@standardmedia.co.ke. Digger Motor Show 2023 is brought to you by Standard Group and Digger Motors and is powered by Spice FM.
Lunga Lunga Landis, Lusaka, all pretty busy right now still. Folks are trying to struggle their way to get into the city really quickly. The last of traffic that's on Jogo Road is feeding on into this. And this thing on the Thika Superhighway is just not letting go today. It's still heavy from Survey through towards Pangani. It looks like it's going to continue for some time. You might be stuck just there. Juja Road also, that started pretty early. You still see some traffic. Then also trying to connect with Moranga Road. There must be an issue there. We'll see what it is. And on James Gishoro going towards Wayaki Way, a little bit of traffic coming off of Chiromo getting in towards Kilileshwa. That still continues for some time, but we've done well today. Out of traffic hour in a short bit. Let's know what's going on where you are through the morning on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
Conversation with the President's Food Security Advisor, Dr. Dominic Menjo. Dr. Arid, please talk about how these other areas that arid and semi-arid lands of the country.
Yeah.
What's the government's plan on making them productive for food security?
Yes, I think that's a very important point. I know we've concentrated so much on the 15% or the 20% we discussed earlier. We have an 80% of our country which is potential. It actually has huge potential. And the main resource there in agriculture is livestock. And when we say livestock, it's mainly beef, cattle, goats, sheep, camel, and at some point honey or the bees, agriculture. And we have a similar model for the ASAL counties that is based on the feedlot model. The feedlot model is a finishing area, especially for the meat-producing animals, where the animals are paddocked in an area for 3 months, and they get high level of nutrition for them to gain weight, and also for us to clean, to ensure that they are disease-free, also ensure that they are the issues around leather are managed because of the quality of leather. And normally, our plan is to set up such in every ward, 5,000 facility with irrigation, with fencing, with reseeding, with making sure that we're putting enough fodder in that particular area, so that the pastoralists around that area form cooperatives, and they finish the animals there. They finish the animals that are ready for slaughter. They pass them there through as a cooperative.
So as a cooperative, you have your cattle, you're doing your grazing, which is kawaida what you do.
Yeah.
And then about 3 months to market.
Yes.
You now take them to the feedlot.
You take them to the feedlot as a cooperative. And there they are managed better because they are paddocked. It's high quality. We're not talking about feedlots, the traditional feedlots, which is like feeding them with, the concentrates and the like. Our type of animal cannot pay for that. You need there are cows with 1,000 kilos that can afford, they can pay that back. But this one, you are just putting them on high level pasture, making sure that you are in paddock, the quality of pasture is high. And in 3 months, and we've seen this, when it rains, you see these Maasai cows walking all over. It just needs a 1 month rain, and all of a sudden they look very healthy. Yeah, so it's a quick turnaround. So our agenda is almost double their carcass weight, currently at around 90, move it to around 180, which is doable.
In 3 months?
In 3 months, because they have the frame. Most of these animals have the frame. They have the frame. What they lack is the feed to fill the frame. And doing that will help us now address the issue of disease management. So we put experts there in disease management. Right. We also make sure water. But one other important thing we do is to make sure that we start feed conservation for the period when the pastoralist animals will not have feed. You see, like we lost 2.6 million animals in this last drought.
Conservative.
We don't want that to happen again.
Yeah.
So we want to be, even as we take care of the process of taking them, we'll also be setting aside, because we'll have known these cooperatives, they will have registered the animals. Yeah. We'll have known how many animals are out there and start planning for their feed for even 6 months up to 1 year.
Challenge
of
though,
feed. Yeah.
Daktari.
Yeah.
You see, with farmers who are growing maize, tomatoes and all, they have two things that they want to do with it, either for domestic consumption or for sale to market. So there's a clear market idea in the mind of that farmer. In the mind of a pastoralist farmer, a cattle farmer, market is last in that entire thinking. And you can correct me, of course, yeah. That's why we see people go to the market because schools are about to open. So you're taking the cow to the market so that you can sell and get money for fees. There's somebody who is sick and you need money. It's because you need money. Otherwise, you keep your cows.
Why? You said it's an asset.
Yes. Yeah. So now with this whole idea, you're trying to shift the mindset of the farmer, of this pastoralist, to be thinking, okay, so this calf, when it gets to this age, I'll sell it off or I'll take it to the cooperative, it'll go to feedlot, it'll go to market. Farmers in the livestock sector are not thinking of parting with the animal. They're thinking of staying with the animal.
Correct.
How do you shift that mindset?
That's very true. And that was the, more, for pastoralists for a long time, livestock was a status thing. It was not more about money. But the lessons they've learned with the frequent droughts that are coming, most of them have learned that you need sometimes to deflock. You need sometimes to change the cows into money for them to be survival. And the fact that now with the county government coming in, an intensification of education system, nowadays you find people even driving the cows as school fees. You find in this secondary school in those areas, you have a place where they bring the cow as school fees. And now we are sitting in with an insurance coming in. We have a big program on insurance, livestock insurance. Then we also have livestock identification system that puts value to these particular animals. So what's happening is that there's a mind shift in their thinking, because one, they've learned the hard way. Many of them lost their animals and currently are on seed stocks.
Yeah.
Majority of them. They lost most of what they had. Yeah. So they are more willing to listen. Also, we're trying to use the same facility to create also sedentary life. For the pastoralists, mainly the children and the what, and the women,
the elderly.
The elderly. Also to enhance issues around security by ensuring that livestock identification is more modernized using RFID methods to ensure that the cow becomes valueless to a rustler. At the end of the day, because that's also the biggest threat in that region. It's preventing the biggest investment. So these are the things we would want to do around that. As you say, it's not that easy. As I talk from then today on Wednesday, Thursday, I'll be sitting with the CCs and the CEOs from the 13 national counties to now agree. It took a bit of time on this to roll out this. At least one in every of those 13, so that they can see is it something that can be achieved. And these are low-hanging fruits because, as I said, it takes only 3 months to
How
move
many
that.
acres does a feedlot require?
We're working on a 5,000 facility with the pivot irrigation, but the source of water will vary from county to county. It will be context. For some, it will be dams. For some, it will be. And for that, we're also talking about irrigation. And I think you realize we are working on a PPP arrangement on dams, where, and I missed to say this even in, we're just working on the coffee one, where, we are only getting 2 kilos per bush instead of 50.
2 kilos per coffee bush.
Yes. instead of 50 that other people are getting. But the main challenge is access to inputs, access to husbandry practices, and of course now the seasonality, the rain. And we are working on a model where you factor the cost of water into the production.
Sure.
That can move these from 2 up to 15 initially. And you can use only 2 kilos to pay for water on these, but you'll have raised from 2 to 15. So the remaining 13 is belongs to the farmer. So these now will entice the PPP for somebody to come and tap into a dam around that area so that you don't lose the water that's flowing from the rain.
Let's ask what role education plays in all of this, because a couple of questions. Number one, talking about an agriculture university that exists, we know that. But then there's a whole university dealing with agriculture. What are they doing towards food security? How are you involving universities and other educational institutions at the TVET level in this process? And then how then is the education system being involved in all of this? We know that there's some subjects that are taught maybe in upper primary and then secondary school agriculture. We know there's this kind of soil, there's the other that. But then now that government has this approach, which is pointed, it's poignant, it is deliberate to make sure that it becomes a way of life. How are the schools then being involved in this? We also know of some schools, City told us, those who grow the food they eat, isn't it?
Yes. Correct.
Right there.
Correct.
Yes,
so how are they involved in the system? The milk they drink is from the cows that are resident on the school property.
Yes.
So
owned by the school, by the way.
Owned by the school, right?
Correct.
The other day we saw parents said, now you're not using this cow, we'll eat the cow. It's ours. So agriculture plays a role in, the system. And now we're saying government on a whole is being deliberate about this thing. How are schools being involved in that aspect? But then also in the aspect of learning the science, contributing to the national agenda.
Correct. And thank you very much. I think that is a question that's so close to my heart because I went through such a school, and that is what influenced where I am today. I went through a school called Rongai Agricultural Technical School, and we produced all our food. We milked, we produced fish. We ate in our menu, we ate the best menu.
Did you have a wheat and maize farm?
Yes, we did. We actually used to have every class. We used to go and you hire because we didn't have enough land. Like the school was on a 9-acre piece of land, and we used to hire for every class. The school would hire so that we produce our own wheat, which we used to bake our own bread.
Wow. So you had your own bakery?
Yes, we had our own bakery. We had our own pigs, so we used to do our own sausages. We used to do sausages twice a week, and we used to do an egg once. We had the best diet. We could use our own and we were giving even vegetables for free to the neighbors. We are still trying to go back to revive. We lost it a bit, but we are back there trying to revive. So basically, we think it can be done. We tried to do this in other schools, but that one required when you are entering, you declare from the onset. The parent is told, your boy will be working with us. He will not just be a student. And they used to get a certificate at the end of the 4 years on agriculture management. That changed many of us completely into what we are doing. So
does the school still exist?
Yes, it does.
In its the form that you're describing, or has
it morphed into something went down because when the school did, and it was doing very well academically. So now the other interests came in.
Okay.
And as we know that.
Yes. We are actually, I'm in the forefront trying to revive the same. We've been meeting with a few alumni to tell them, I think we need to go back. I put my son through the same place, but he didn't come back like me. So
he went elsewhere.
He's listening to me somewhere. But it's very doable. I think schools are also a very big opportunity, and we are working with Rockefeller to initiate this, to supply some feed, especially for school children feeding program.
Do you know why this is important when you think about it?
Yeah.
You have a lively testimony about it. Now, imagine if this is something that, even if someone doesn't go into the discipline that you've gone into, but you have the knowledge.
Correct.
So essentially, you are preparing people to be self-sufficient in food.
Correct.
So whatever piece of land they have, just by going through the normal school system,
yes,
you have knowledge that will actually help you.
Yeah. Correct.
Yes. So it's like you are arming. It's like when you look at certain countries where they have compulsory military training. So you can find an entire population of people who have been militarized. I mean, they're civilians,
yes,
but they've all gone through that training. Now, given the problem we have, it would not harm us if we have an entire generation of people who are trained in agricultural matters.
Farmers.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. I totally agree with you.
844 tried to do that.
Yeah, it tried. But what as I said, in that school, you sign when you entering, and your first day is you go and clean the pigsty. So those who ran away the first day.
You know what you're getting into.
Of course, it was run by Christian brothers, so you know that their discipline component, which we can do. It can still be done in a number of... there are a lot of institutions with land, and they're still buying food. And it's an opportunity, as I say, and I think we are following it up using now that initiative with Rockefeller. But getting back to the universities and the TVET, at the moment, the universities are almost closing the faculties of agriculture.
Why?
Because any child who is admitted for that course would want to change to another, because they see their brothers or siblings or neighbors who graduated 10 years ago and just running a kiosk around. Nobody wants to go to the university to come and run a kiosk.
And not even a food kiosk.
And not even a food kiosk. And as I said earlier, we have about 330,000 of these guys out there.
330,000.
We graduate on average 12,000 every year. What we are doing is first, through the cooperatives, the model that we've indicated, we try to absorb this lot through now the value chains, not through employment by government, but through value chain employment, so that we create a pull effect in the university, but now work with the universities to change the curriculum so that there is a business orientation to the training. At the moment, everybody is trained to get a job. All that you think of, I get my certificate, look for a job, and my salary is assured whether it's working or not. But with the model that we're thinking, that goes also to TVETs, the emphasis on TVETs, and the link between TVETs and the industrial parks. Because we would want now these guys to be more practical oriented, so that we link this to now the CBET system of education, as opposed to the knowledge-based system of education. So that's the thinking. And I think we've started engaging some few universities to give us even the students who are on attachment to roll out this part of this in some counties. Even the internship program is going to get into this to roll out. Because what's happening with the current internship program is after internship, people still go back home.
Yeah, we have no job.
But for this model, they will go through internship, then they will be absorbed by the cooperative, because the cooperative will be producing enough to be able to employ them. So that's the model we are working on with the universities. But the schools, the model you've described earlier, is very critical. Of course, we have the 4K club model at the primary level to just sensitize them of the importance of agriculture. Have them have some small rabbits here, poultry, and some things. They used to happen. But all these we let drop at some point.
Commercialization of education, of agriculture, of politics.
Yes, that's where we lost it. Yeah.
As we conclude, Dr. Menjo, I want to ask a couple of questions, and these ones are now on timelines. Okay.
Yeah.
You are the president's advisor on food security. Number one, when do we expect the price of food to start coming down? Number two, you said we are not food secure. When do you anticipate us getting food secure?
On the issue around food security or the cost of And
current issues, costs.
We've just gotten our first harvest on maize in Narok, but the amounts were not big enough to impact on the price because the deficit was so big. But the price came down to around 5,000 a bag, which has slightly affected. But we are getting now the whole of that South Rift region are starting to harvest. And Bomet, that region, Kericho, Narok, coming all the way, they are harvesting their first crop. So that will start having an impact on, because millers are now buying from there, and the prices are starting to come down. Of course, the second group of counties that can sell, many other counties are producing, but it is just ending in their homes and
when
in the neighborhood.
When do you see us getting to 150 and below?
In somewhere in January
next year.
Yes. After we've gotten the big 14 have harvested. That is when we can actually, and of course the millers have taken and have. That is when now the price will come down to around 150.
In how many years do you see us getting to a level where we can start saying Kenya is food secure?
On maize, we'll be food secure this year. Yes. Interestingly enough, traveling across the country, the type of maize we are seeing, uniquely enough, the fertilizer that was proposed, people fought DAP, wanted DAP. DAP is a sprinter. You produce very quickly, but it levels off very quickly and starts coming down. We had reached a point where it's coming down. You need more and more to produce less and less. So that's why the president insisted we need to do the NPK, which is a more sustainable, is a long-term. You produce and it continue growing. And surprisingly enough, if you look at the maize, they are doing 2 to 3 crops with that.
Wow.
Stock. Yes, per stock. And it's across the country. I was the other day in Ukambani, Machakos. I was up